After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with a supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
My dad was in a coma state, and hospice had told us that they felt that he was going to pass away. I begged them to let me come back. I felt there was a presence in my bedroom. I thought someone had broken in the house.
Help! I'm not afraid of you!
These 3 spirits here, this is connected to your dad's military experience.
On this episode of Family Spirits, we speak with Mike. After his father miraculously survives death, he returns to give a glimpse of the afterlife.
I'm Michael Sears. I'm at Waverly Sanatorium, and I'm here to talk about my dad's haunting. My first paranormal experience at a young age at 5. My parents, at the time, we lived in western New York on the Finger Lakes, and we had lived in this older house on the lake there. I had gone to bed, and I was laying in bed, and I felt someone was watching me, and I rolled over, and there was a little girl in a Victorian dress. She had long black hair with pink curls from it. And first I thought it was my imagination. You know, I rubbed my eyes and looked at her, and she just smiled. There she was, looking right at me, smiling. Which spooked me, and I ended up jumping out of bed and running down the stairs to let my parents know that there was a ghost of a little girl in my bedroom. My parents were not huge believers of the paranormal and thought it was just an act of imagination, you know, being 5 years old. Maybe she felt that we had a connection being probably about the same age. As time went on through that house, we, just chalked up, oh, it's just the ghost. You know, there was times my sister had a little toy wood piano that we would hear upstairs playing by itself, and my sister was not home at the time. We would have footsteps, running up in our bedroom when we'd be on the main floor of the house and hear that. Every once in a while, like a door closed, or you think you saw something go off by the side of your eye. As I got a little bit older, relatives would show up in my bedroom and tell me they had passed and tell me to tell the family that everything's okay. I had a great-grandmother, a great-uncle, and other relatives, a great-aunt that showed up and told me, tell your family everything's okay, don't worry about me. Everything's okay. And then the phone would ring, and I would yell out, and I said, oh, someone's coming to tell you that so-and-so died. My mom would go, that's not funny. And then when they'd answer the phone, sure enough, it was news on that relative that passed away. Back in 1994, my dad was ill with cancer, and this was the last few months in the time frame before he passed away. He was very weak that night when my mom and I said goodnight to him, and we talked for a little bit, and I had to hold his glass of water for a straw for him to drink out of. So I had said goodnight, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I heard panic screaming through the house, and my mom is screaming for help, and I hear my dad screaming for help. Which was odd because he was very weak. And so I jumped out of bed and ran over to their side of the house, and to my surprise, my dad was standing up on his own in the bedroom, terrified. I've never seen my dad so scared. She's like, look, I need your help to calm your dad down. And my dad goes, I don't want them to take me. And he goes, don't you see them? And I said, what are you talking about? And he says, there, look at the wall. He was describing the wall had opened up, and there was these demonic looking creatures. nailing people upside down on crosses with tridents and everything. And he says, don't let them take me, I'm not ready to go. And I said, won't we leave the room? And as we're leaving the room, he's like, Mike, we gotta warn them. And I said, what? And he goes, it's gonna happen. So I'm trying to restrain him, and also my dad grabbed me and literally lifted me off the floor and threw me across the living room. And we had this big, huge Georgia quartz fireplace, and my back slammed into the wall of the fireplace. And the next morning, he didn't remember anything that happened that night. In June of 1994, my dad was in a coma state, and hospice had told us that they felt that he was gonna pass away soon. They go, look, we feel he could pass either tonight or tomorrow, and we're willing to come back tomorrow if you need us. And so my mom's like, I think we should be fine. Sometime after 3 o'clock in the morning, she heard him take his last breath.
It's okay. It's okay.
How's he going?
She had checked his vitals and all that to make sure he had passed, and after about 30 minutes, he sat up out of the bed and goes, hey, where are you going? I need to talk to you. He goes, I want to freshen up. He got out of the bed on his own like a healthy person, and he was in a coma for almost a week. He went to his own bedroom, got in the shower, took a shower on his own. She's like, your dad wants to talk to you, and I'm like in total shock. I'm like, what do you mean he wants to talk to me? And she's like, yeah, it's been a pretty crazy night. And my mom's like, oh no, he's in his own bed. And so I walk over towards the bedroom, and there he is in his bed, and he's in full color, you know, he looked healthy.
So you're all good?
I feel wonderful. I feel like I've got a second chance. Woke up, it's like a brand new day to me. I feel like I got a new lease on life.
A new lease on life?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I want some real food. Mike, go to the store and go get me something to eat. Give me something like, you know, it'd be an awesome last supper for me. They had a special on crawfish, and I got baked potatoes and corn, and even grabbed a 6-pack of beer, not knowing if he was gonna be alive when I came back home.
Dad, still all right?
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
What's
Mike.
with you guys?
Oh, yeah. One for everybody.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah. There you go, dear.
Thank you, honey.
To Dad, right?
To my love. Cheers.
And he's like, I'm exhausted. I think I need to go to sleep. And he goes, if I don't wake up in the morning, just to let you know that I love you guys, and everything's gonna be okay. It was just a few days later, he passed away the second time. August of '94, 2 months after my dad passed away. I had woke up, again, the odd time frame is after 3 in the morning. I felt there was a presence in my bedroom. I thought someone had broken in the house. And before I could reach to it and get to the light on my bed, I felt 2 hands grab me by the ankles and start pulling me off the bed.
Help! Help! Help!
Are you okay? Honey, what's the matter? What's the matter? Honey, it's okay.
And she's like, you sure it wasn't a nightmare? I said, oh, it was no nightmare. I hear something coming down the hallway. You just feel like this energy coming towards me. All of a sudden, this force of energy hit me right in the chest like someone tackled me. I just went flying backwards, and it was about like 8 to 10 feet back, and I slammed into her bedroom wall. And I said, I'm being attacked again, and then it would release, and then it would attack, and this went on for about 30 minutes. All of a sudden, one day, I said, I'm just going to the living room and lay on the couch and relax for a little bit, and I'm laying there, and all of a sudden, I felt that negative energy I hadn't felt since Florida.
I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you anymore.
These 3 spirits here, this is connected to your dad's military experience. So they don't have him to torment anymore, and that even makes him more mad that he was able to cross over and they're still here. So now they're taking it out on you.
Hi, Mike. I'm Craig.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thanks for sharing your stories and your paranormal experiences. I find them fascinating. Do you have any idea why we're here right now?
No.
All right. You're gonna like this because you're a paranormal guy, I'm a paranormal guy. We are actually conducting a paranormal experiment while we're talking. Brandon's in the room next door monitoring what's going on here. Around us, the area surrounding us. Anything we might say of a paranormal nature might trigger something, some kind of pressure change whatsoever. In fact, while we are also talking, Mustafa and Kevin are in other parts of the building also doing paranormal investigations.
Okay.
All right. Now, I understand that there's people who would think that I'm trumping this up for a paranormal show. But after hearing Mike's story, and I have visited Waverly Hills Sanatorium multiple times, specifically this body shoot by myself multiple times. After hearing Mike's story, I'm kind of shitting myself right now.
All right. Down in the morgue in Waverly Hills, just heard a crazy story from Mike. One of the most horrific ones being this guy in the tiger camo pants, possibly a Vietnam soldier that feels like his father had wronged him back during his time in Vietnam and apparently haunted his father. And then after his father passed, started haunting him.
Now, one of the first things that I want to start off with is let's talk about your father.
Okay.
Your last name is Sears.
Correct.
But your dad was not born a Sears, correct?
Correct.
He was born a Morley.
Correct.
I actually did a little bit of familial research. It's not much, but there are some things I want to talk to you about that relationship.
Okay.
The best I could figure out, and this was looking at U.S. Census and also what appears to be your father joining the military. He changed his name to Sears sometime around that time.
Correct.
I wish I could get hold of his military records, but we talked about that.
Yeah.
I actually am going to encourage you to not give up on that.
Okay.
Because you are next of kin. There's a lot that you should be able to try to get. You're also a veteran yourself.
Correct.
I think for posterity's sake of your kids.
Right.
All I can think about is Mike's story. And that man in the tiger-striped military fatigues with the orange bandana across his face. There's no way out of this tunnel except through that door over there. I'm not a trained military man. I don't think I'd fare very well against a living active member of the United States military or any world's military. And I don't think I could do well against a paranormal, supernatural military force. Definitely not that.
Pleasure to be here to talk with you. And I'm not sure if you heard upstairs earlier when we were talking to Mike up there, and some of the stories he had about some of the hauntings that he experienced as a child and in his adult life. You know, things that still haunt him to this day.
I actually looked up his date of birth and his date of death, and I'm not sure if you know this or not.
Okay.
He was born, according to the date of birth, June 22nd, 1935.
Correct.
He died June 23rd, 1994.
Correct.
So that day that you thought you were going to lose him and he got that respite,
Yeah.
that delay, was actually on his birthday. I think that's kind of beautiful. I think that's kind of beautiful. beautiful.
It's my good friend Mike. We just talked with Mr. Mike. See, that's motion. Right when I mentioned Mike, we had motion here in the body shoot up and EMF. Do you know who Mike is? Thank you.
Mike had talked about a figure that he believes haunted his father that came from Vietnam. And, you know, he thinks that he was haunting him after his father's passing. So I'm just curious if, whoa, we just got EMF hit on the paralight. Are you back there in the corner?
Carrying a lot of secrets with him, it sounds like.
Yes, I believe he did, yeah.
Do you think he suffered from PTSD?
Oh, he had definitely PTSD. You know, growing up as a kid, you know, there was many nights that we were woken up from his nightmares, you know, screaming out and stuff like that.
So he was, in fact, haunted himself.
Yes.
From the war. He didn't discuss the dark things too much.
Not often. The only time he would is if he was drinking with maybe some military friends. He was not happy I joined the military because he didn't want me to go through the things he went through.
After he passed and this more negative thing came in.
When the haunting was happening, you could just feel that source of energy when you walked in the room. It was just so heavy and I guess anger. I was laying on the couch and then the man appeared in my living room in the tiger stripes and the beret and the scarf. After digging deep into my, dad's military past, I had this figure appear there in the archway.
Are you related to Mike? Okay. Hear noises.
It seemed like something over there in the corner wanted to say something whenever I mentioned the guy in the tiger striped camo pants with the orange scarf. Were you a soldier in Vietnam? His uniform matches to the history of the people that he used to work with. From my experiences now, I treat them as like they're a bully. I'm not scared. I might get a little spooked, when they encounter it, but I just stand up to it. I just say, look, I feel you. I'm not impressed. What is the significance with the tiger striped camo pants? Is that what you're wearing?
Are you a member of Mike's family? Mr. Mike Sears' family? Gentleman who's upstairs talking with our friend Craig right now? Thank you. Oh, okay. We've never gotten EMF down here in the body shoot. We're getting it right now. Yeah, I got chills running all up down my left side. Thank you so much. So you're familiar with who Mike is? We keep getting EMF down here. There should not be any electromagnetic frequencies down here. I'm speaking with Mike's father right now? Is that who's here with me? Mike's dad? I just heard a loud knock upstairs, right up at the entrance of the death tunnel. And now I'm consistently getting EMF hits down here. This is absolutely insane. I don't want to move the APL, nor do I really want to move, because I am freaking out.
Are you still there? I'm gonna touch base with Brandon about this and see what he may be getting. Hey, so yeah, it's been a little interesting down here. There's been twice that I've mentioned the guy in the tiger striped camo pants, which has set off EMF on the paralight.
Copy. So as Craig was talking to Mike, Kevin keyed in on the walkie and told us that
they are having spikes on EMF, pressure, and temperature when he specifically talks about this commando with the tiger stripe fatigue and the scarf. Also, when Mike was talking about his father, we had pretty drastic changes in the microtesla units on the magnetometer in the X, Y, and Z axis. So 4-degree change, 4 different Tesla unit changes. Interesting data.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, and again, thank you for sharing your stories.
You're welcome.
It's gonna give me a lot to think about. It's gonna give APRA a lot to think about as far as your dad's love being just that blessing of having him so that you could have that closure.
Is he gone?
Mike's haunting is a duality of paranormal phenomena. While grateful to spend one last day with his father, he was soon afflicted by a violent supernatural force. As he divulged his experiences, APRA documented numerous environmental aberrations that cannot be explained.
I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you anymore.
To see a physical person touch you that's not living, to me, that's pretty amazing.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with a supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
A picture come flying off the wall. It hit her in her mouth. My dad started hearing this weird buzzing noise. The hands on his watch was just going nuts.
And we looked over and the rocking chair was rocking. There was a person sitting in this rocking chair that had half of its face was gone. It was mangled.
She's banging on our door, crying, scared. She didn't know what was going on.
I did a little bit of research into your family. I have something I'd like to show you.
In this episode of Family Spirits, we learn about a chilling home tied to brutal killings, which Shay and her sister say were the source of horrifying and potentially violent hauntings, which ultimately put her father in the hospital. Shay goes on to say that following these experiences, she was visited by her father after his death, and at a time when she needed him most.
My name is Shay Boer. I want to talk about the haunting in a small rural town that we lived in. In 1983, I was 13 years old, and my father and my mother and I, my brother, we moved to a small town in central Illinois called Roothouse, Illinois. We went to school, we made some friends, we hung out with neighborhood kids. There was a house across the street from us, and we all nicknamed it the greenhouse because the whole thing was in a ugly colored green. And when we would walk down the street, it was just like you had this eerie feeling that something in that house was watching you. It was an unsettling feeling. We were there about 6 months, and the house stood empty the first 6 months that we were there. And after the 6 months, there was a man and a woman and a little girl who had moved into the house. Then probably 3 or 4 months, my dad would get up during the middle of the night and he'd go to the bathroom and then go back and look out the door, and he saw the woman, the mom, in the backyard on her hands and knees, and it looked like she was pulling weeds out of the backyard. And he thought that was really strange. About 2 months after that, he did the same thing. He got up in the middle of the night, went to the bathroom, come back, looked out the door, and this time it was raining outside. He seen her over there again in the backyard in the rain, and she was on her hands and knees, and she was pulling weeds out of the backyard. And so he went and got my mom, and I had her come to the door to verify what he was actually seeing, and she was out there doing exactly what he thought she was doing. It was kind of strange because we got up one day and the woman had packed her bags up and her little girl, and she had moved back to Michigan where they'd come from, and her husband stayed behind. It was a couple weeks after that, he asked my sister out. And so they started seeing each other, and finally he asked her to move into the house with him.
I'm Tracy Stone, and I am Shay's oldest sister. I lived in a haunted house in a little town called Roothouse, Illinois. 86, 87 is when I moved there, and I was seeing this guy. Decided to move in with him. We lived together for a while. It was like maybe 5, 6 months into the relationship. He started acting really weird.
So with the majority of these cases, we're talking about people that have encountered deceased loved ones or close friends. But with Shay, this is a bit different because it's her entire family encountering a haunting.
It's almost something lifted straight out of a ghost movie. You know, you have this house and you have a family who is being possibly haunted by the spirits of another family.
This particular case is a little dark and more in the horror vein than a lot of the stories that we normally get. It's quite frightening. I don't think any family would want to stay in a house like that based on their stories.
So they probably dated for about 6 to 8 months. And he got to the point where he became very weird, very possessive of her, scaring her is what he was doing.
I just didn't want that around my kids, so I asked him to move out. Little things started happening around the house, like my keys would come up missing. I'd be listening to music and my stereo would just go off, and then it would come back on playing the song Mama He's Crazy by the Judds. My kids come up to me one time and they said, "Hey Mom, can we name it?" And I said, "What, you want to name the ghost?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, go ahead." So they named him Bill. Well, that was probably a mistake.
Things started progressing more, and at one point, a picture come flying off the wall.
And this picture come flying off the wall and hit me in the mouth. Well, it really scared me.
My dad and my sister Peggy was walking down the cellar steps, and my dad started hearing this weird buzzing noise. And he's like, "What is that?" And so he just happened to look down at his watch, and the hands on his watch were going counterclockwise. During over probably a period of a year, things started progressing a little bit.
And I said, "That's it, you know, something's going on in that house. I don't like it. I'm moving out."
It certainly is dark. It's very dark. It doesn't get any darker than that.
The true house of horrors, really. I mean, talk about this one with a mangled face. I mean, having this horrible car accident, this accident with her father working on the vehicle, the car turning on by itself and backing up, and
Batteries out. There was no way that the car was started. The key wasn't in the ignition, and the neighbor said that no, it started and reversed, and the door was open and it scraped her dad's leg, put him in the hospital.
She was seriously talking about leaving one day, packing her stuff up and leaving. And so her starter on her car kept messing up. Every time she would talk about leaving this house, something would happen to her car, so she couldn't leave.
So my dad decided that he was going to fix my steering column and fix my starter, because I had enough. That weekend I was ready to, I was gone. I was gonna move out. My dad had my front door on the driver's side open, and the starter was not hooked up, the battery was not hooked up, and my steering column was torn apart. And he said that the car started up, backed up, ran over him.
My dad was underneath the car. His upper torso was underneath the car, and the bottom of the door scraped the skin down to the bones all the way up to his knees.
The rocking chair was rocking really, really hard and fast. And this person that was sitting in the rocking chair, half of its face was gone, like it was mangled. So I sold that car, got another one, and I moved out of that house.
At that point in time, I knew something was in the house, so that's where I decided to start researching the house, researching the property, researching the town. It was my job to find out what it was. I found out that there was a couple and 4 children who lived in the house in 1943. He came home one day. His wife was out in the barn behind the house, and she was milking a cow. And he had come into the barn with a claw hammer, and he had bashed her head in with the claw hammer and killed her. So after experiencing the paranormal activity in this home, this is what made me become a paranormal investigator. So in 1998, I found out my dad had stage 4 colon cancer. I was really close to my dad. After I found out he had cancer, I fell into depression. I started drinking very heavily. I couldn't function. On February 18th, I found out I was pregnant with my first son. My dad never knew him. The day my son turned 3 months old, I decided to go back to work. And so I got up that next morning and was getting my son ready. I just happened to look into the bathroom, and I seen part of an apparition of my dad standing there looking at me, and I just smiled, and I could see that he cracked a smile, and he disappeared, and it was so strange. And I believe for the first 3 months of my son's life that my dad was protecting him, because he knew that he was my only son, and he would never get to meet him in person. And that just makes me happy that somehow, some way, he does know about my son.
This family haunting a family led to a connection later down the line after her father's passing that turned into a kind of a positive thing, I guess.
Well, again, I actually think that, she misses her dad. I think her dad was kind of an ally of hers throughout her life. I think she's missing him so much that she is seeing what she believes is evidence of him. Not often, but when it came to the birth of her child, she definitely felt that her dad was there for that.
Shay's paranormal experiences from when she was a very young age was always something very negative. These encounters that her sister had and their family had, they were always very, very scary. But in a way, it almost seems like her view of the paranormal has kind of been exercised through this experience she believes that she had, this visitation that she believes she had from her father after his passing.
I think this one's kind of more open-ended than the others.
Hi, Shay. I'm Craig.
Nice to meet you.
Tracy,
Nice to meet you.
Well, thanks for coming here and telling us your experiences. They're quite harrowing. Obviously, something rude is haunting you in Rude House.
Yes.
I did some research into the city, and to be honest with you, I became quite fascinated and kind of fell in love with Rude House just from what I could see. Talk about a historic little town.
Yeah, it is.
And we're not talking about a big-sized town at all. I think the last census, it's like 1,500 people.
Yeah.
Well, let me share with you what I have found on the property,
Okay.
if you don't mind. because I'm having a hard time locating where this house was, this farm was. Let's just work together on this one because you lived there, and one thing that I want to make perfectly clear, that anything that I say that might point out that might be a discrepancy, I am not refuting or challenging the ghost stories there. I just need your help in kind of putting some of the pieces together based on some of the documentation I found, okay?
Okay.
Open it up here, the magic file. You were so afraid of what was in there.
I was very afraid.
Nothing to be afraid of. This, I'm gonna have to loan you my trusty magnifying glass because it's very fine print. But I'm looking at the 1930 census for Root House. In 1930, I'm looking at the street in question, and I am seeing that there is a Russell Heron and his wife, Anna, and one of their children. Now,
Wow.
I want you to take a look. See for yourself. Actually, I looked up when your house was built. Do you have any idea when your house was built?
No.
1896.
Oh, wow.
So it's much
Wow.
older than you probably thought, right? Yeah, 1896. The 1940 census actually has Patterson right here. Now here is where it lists the Herons, all of them, and their kids, okay?
Oh, wow. That's
So
weird.
I'll let you take a look at that.
Oh, Russell, Ann, Barbara, William, Daisy, and Albert.
William.
We're
William.
gonna get to that.
Really short for William.
Yep.
You know? Dang, I said his name twice.
But I started looking for maps from that area. I'm looking for old maps, and so I found a Sanborn fire insurance map from 1914 of Root House, and I highlighted the street. Now, in 1914, that was the edge of the city, was where that house, your house was. The Herons lived very close to that house, and that the murder-suicide happened there. But there are some other clues I want to kind of point out. In 1943, Russell Lee Heron, who worked at a paper mill and moonlighted as a truck driver at night for livestock, as well as tried his hand at farming. One morning about 9 a.m., he approaches his wife, who's milking a cow in the barn. The article said that there was a domestic dispute happen and that they had been quarreling for about a month prior to this. He bludgeons her with a claw hammer. Now, one newspaper account said that he had grabbed the hammer initially to fix a post, a gate, and then he came back, they got into a fight. He hits her. All four kids are in the house when this happens. They hear a scream. One of the daughters runs out, sees mom dead. Russell Heron turns around and gives his son a letter. And the letter was addressed to his landlord as well as his employee. So he was actually living and working on a farm that he was renting from his employer. He mentioned something about life insurance, which may be the reason why he decided to kill his wife and himself. Then he takes a 12-gauge shotgun and shoots himself in the backyard in the abdomen. And he dies an hour later. His last words were, "It was the best we could do." This article literally says, after killing his wife, Russell Heron wrote a note to his employer, E.E. Florence. That's who you're thinking of. That was the farm.
Yep.
It did give the coordinates as southwest, which your house is on the southwest side. So I have pulled a lot of documents that tell different versions, and the versions create a clear picture. At the inquest, they determined that he was mentally imbalanced. That was actually how they viewed the whole thing and kind of closed the books. It's very harrowing, it's very sad, and it's, quite frankly, it's horrific. Well, you know, you mentioned like the woman with the mangled face. These things could easily tie into that. We'll have to, we talked about one of the children being named William. And getting a very negative reaction.
Yes.
When you mentioned Bill.
Yeah.
So
that's what my kids named him.
Right.
So, and I think that was a mistake by naming, because after that, everything just started going wacky.
Your dad, did he just feel natural with the paranormal? How did he, I mean, it's hard when the car runs over you, it's kind of hard to.
He wasn't a believer in the paranormal. But my dad was hardcore. Doesn't matter how bad the truth was, he was gonna speak it.
Yes.
If it hurt you, it hurt you. If it didn't, it didn't. He wasn't gonna lie about nothing.
Right.
But he would tell you straight up, I don't believe in that stuff.
Yep.
And then after this, it changed his mind, because,
Yeah.
I mean, he was just as dumbfounded as we were when it all happened.
Yeah.
What do you think his reaction would be if he were here right now, listening to you two tell
He'd
the
be saying,
story?
yep, I'll tell you what, that's exactly what happened.
Yep. You girls are right. You girls are right.
You wouldn't be saying, oh, you forgot this part.
He
you
probably
know?
did.
He probably
did. Now, remember this part?
Again, thank you. Thank you for sharing your stories. And I look forward to hearing more about Root House. And let's work on this mystery together.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm curious now.
Me too. Me too.
Shay and Tracy lived through a real-life house of horrors. A century-old murder-suicide that manifested into the Root House haunting. This experience terrorized their family, but it also may have led Shay's father to understand that he too could reach out from beyond the grave. Which allowed him to give Shay solace when she needed it most, even after his death.
I mean, that house is haunted. That's when I said, that's it, I am done, I'm out of here.
So after experiencing the paranormal activity in this home, this is what made me become a paranormal investigator.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with a supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
I looked over at him and I literally saw him take his last breath, and he opened his mouth and this amazing green vapor came up out of his mouth, and I truly believe that it was his soul that left his body.
And she sat down next to his bedside and she held his hand, and he passed away. She knows what she's talking about.
I did a little bit of research into your family. I have something I'd like to show you.
In this episode of Family Spirits, we meet with death doula Beth Deering, who possesses what she calls an inherited gift for seeing the dead. Beth has devoted herself to providing comfort to those on their deathbeds, using her unique abilities, reconciling a lifetime of paranormal experiences.
My name is Beth Deering, and I'm a professional psychic medium, paranormal investigator, and a death doula. So a death doula, many cultures, it goes back many cultures, pretty much assists people, lets the family know what's going on with the process of dying, looking for physicalities. The majority of people that hire a death doula do not have mechanical things with them. They prefer to go more naturally, but oftentimes we do have a medical situation. And with my abilities, I'm able to assist people and let them know that it is okay if something is starting to shut down or if they're starting to become agitated, to let the family members know that I'm feeling more of a transition, more of them wanting to cross over. And oftentimes I will start to feel the physicality of their situation, their body, and how they're feeling. My first real paranormal experience happened when I was 7. I had an experience at 3, but really didn't understand what it was. My mom and dad were Chip and Joanna Gaines before there was a Chip and Joanna Gaines, and they took me to these amazing historic places. We went to Monticello as a child. I knew where Jefferson's bedroom was and the history of the house, and not knowing things and not able to vent or confide in somebody. And I grew up as an only child, but mysterious things were happening pretty much from age 7 on up to present day. Growing up as a kid and trying to accept my abilities and not understand my abilities, I wore many hats. I have a degree in environmental education, and I also have a mental health background, and I think sometimes you gotta be a little bit nuts to do what we do in this field, but it's just an amazing field to be in. And I started to transition to being drawn to the terminally ill and the medical profession, as it were, in the geriatric population, and started working with hospice as a hospice aide. And oftentimes I would not tell my clients or their families about my abilities, but then shortly after that, people were starting to discover that I was connecting with the other side.
My name's Michelle. I've known Beth Deering for 15 years. I never believed in the paranormal until I met Beth. I've sat in on many of readings she's done for people, and it's fascinating to me. She is fantastic, and the detail she has is just great, and it makes you a believer. As far as her being a death doula, she helped my brother transition from Earth to the other side.
Beth is very interesting because she's a death doula. Right, I've heard about this many times before. I've read about it, I've seen documentaries about it, but I've never have actually met someone or have studied someone that actually helps people transition through death. Death is an inevitable part of life, and that's something we all have to face, is our own mortality. And I think that Beth's story specifically really was interesting.
The way she came about doing it honestly does seem like something straight out of like a comic book. Like, she had these paranormal experiences ever since she was a kid. She says that she knew that she had this gift or this ability, this sight, but she wanted to use it for good.
And having the privilege of sitting there holding someone's hand and telling a family who's waiting for their loved one to transition. First situation was my dad. He's been gone since 1995, and he had Alzheimer's, and he had surgery. And he had been at the hospital probably just a couple of days, and he was in recovery, but completely aware of his surroundings and not really on any type of medications or pain meds or anything like that. And I came to visit him in the afternoon and noticed that he was looking up at the ceiling, like he was noticing something or something that I couldn't see at that present moment. And he summoned me, he said, "Come on over here, I want to show you something." Okay, and he said, "I want you to go down and sit at the end of the bed where you were, but look above me." And I said, "Okay, Daddy, I'll do that." And I sat there just for a few seconds, and all of a sudden, I noticed this form.
The root of our study of ghosts and hauntings is death. You know, again, we don't know what's right or wrong within all this. We don't know exactly what this paranormal phenomena is, right? We can't say, oh, it is consciousness that survives death. We can't 100% say that. Death is kind of the root of all this, and to have someone that is a death doula that works and surrounds herself in these end-of-life situations was a perfect example of what we're doing with this case study.
Well, she's all about shining light into the darkness when it comes to people's final moments here on Earth in the body.
And I said, Daddy, what is that? And he says, I believe it's my guardian angel, and I think I'm going to be going to the Lord soon. And sure enough, a couple weeks later, we were in the nursing home, and I was at work, and I got a call from my mom, and she said, I think you need to take the day off. I really feel that your dad's very close, and we want you to be there. And I grabbed his hand, so I knew that he knew that I was there, and he squeezed my hand, so I knew that he heard my voice, and I said, I'm here with you. And I looked over at him, and I literally saw him take his last breath. And he opened this mouth, and this amazing green vapor came up out of his mouth, and I truly believe that it was his soul that left his body.
I asked her one day, I said, my brother's not doing too well up the hospital. Would you go with me? And she said, sure, I would.
Chris became a very, very dear friend of mine. Oddly enough, he was the brother of a dear friend of mine, Michelle.
She came to the hospital. My family was all in the room. We knew it was his last moment on Earth, and she sat down next to his bedside, and she held his hand, and he passed away.
I remember I sat on, I believe it would have been his, it was his right-hand side, and I held his hand and I said, Chris, I'm here. And a tear, a single tear, came down the side of his face.
She is very passionate about trying to take away negative connotations with death, the fear of death.
You know, one thing, the three of us are here. The three of us are working on this case studies because we want to know what happens, right? We want to know what happens when we die.
That's a worthwhile pursuit if I ever heard of one. You know, the fact that she dedicated her life to this, to helping people at the end of their own lives. You know, she dedicated her life to helping people at the end of theirs. So it's a good thing. If I was a kid and I was like growing up, would you grow up to be a death doula? That's a cool job. That's really, really cool.
And when he passed, we stepped out into the hall and I said, what did you see? She said, Michelle, I seen heaven.
Or oftentimes I will start to experience something supernatural, maybe start smelling the cologne of a loved one that's already on the other side. And oftentimes you will start to see them reaching where they're connecting to the other side. And I truly believe people during that transition do connect and they do see their loved ones waiting for them.
She said, I seen a big wooden table. They were sitting there waiting. And she said, I could actually feel and hear the chair scoot out on the floor. That's when he passed away.
What she's doing is actually more of a celebration of life than death. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And the room smelled like flowers. It was beautiful. You could smell this beautiful smell. She knows what she's talking about. And these people come to her, through her. She speaks to them. She's just fantastic, and I'm a true believer, and I always will be.
Well, it started with whom I believe was my great-grandfather, Thomas Buttrin. I'm from Polish descent, and I'm third-generation American. My family was in Poland and the Austria area during World War II, and they came over on the boat and settled in Ohio. But from what my mom told me, what history that she knew about him, being that that was her grandfather when I was 6 months old, and I just found this out a couple of years ago. My mom said, now I'm starting to put two and two together as to where your abilities came from, because when you were 6 months old, your grandfather literally said, as he's holding you, handing you back to me, I passed my gift on to her. And he died, I guess, short time after that when I was 6 months. And I believe my grandmother, his daughter, was a little bit gifted. It seems like she knew things out of the ordinary, and then comes my mother, who is very prophetic. She's what I call a prophetic artist. When I was born, literally all these amazing supernatural things were happening as I'm growing up as a child. My grandmother, Sophia Dayton, she came to live with me after my grandfather passed, and it was the day actually that I finally had to release her to hospice. She went into what's called terminal illness, and they start to get very agitated, and sometimes very non-communicative, and she was taking a nap that afternoon, and she started to do the reaching. And that afternoon, she started doing the reaching, and I said, do you see Papa, Grandpa? And she said, yes. And I said, who else do you see? And she said, Tata, who is my great-grandfather, her father. I do believe it's in my gene pool. I believe it's handed down through my family's genealogy.
Hi, Beth.
Hello.
I'm Craig.
Nice to meet you. What a pleasure.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Well, I have never met a death doula before, so this is like a special treat for me. In fact, I'll be honest with you, as a historian, usually of haunted locations, and even as a paranormal investigator, I've never run into death doulas before, so this is all kind of new to me. Well, let's talk about your family a little bit. I pulled some records, so I would like to run them by you and have you kind of fill in the blanks on some of them.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. I found this photo. I don't know if you've seen this before, but I want to know if you recognize him.
I'm not familiar. No.
This is supposedly your dad.
Oh my gosh.
So I want to run that by you.
My word.
We'll get back to him.
Okay.
Okay, because he's quite a character in his own right. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your grandmother and Sophia.
Yes.
What do you know about her?
Well, from what I was told, my family came from the Warsaw or Poland area, possibly Austria, that she came over and was born here. She was a daughter of many children.
Your grandfather, Clyde.
Yes.
You know him
Yes,
as well?
very well. He was a veteran in World War II and served our country and came back from the war.
So on your father's side, who was Hazel Markland?
I don't recall the name.
I'm seeing here Hazel Markland, January 30th, 1914 to March 8th, 1998. But it said she was preceded in death by her husband, Frank Markland, who died January 1990, two sons, James Byron Smith.
Okay.
And Robert Stephen Smith.
Okay, Byron Ward Smith
Okay.
is my dad. My dad's parents were killed in a car crash, actually involving a locomotive.
Your dad's name was Byron Ward Smith. Now, how the heck did he get a nickname, Barney?
You know, everybody called him that, and I don't know how that came about. But I remember growing up as a kid, you're Barney's daughter, and everybody knew Barney Smith.
Right.
I have no idea, but that's definitely my dad, for sure.
Well, then you're going to get a kick out of this if you haven't seen it yet. That's an advertisement for your dad's barbershop featuring your aunt, Marion.
Gosh, no way.
And you can see right there, it's Barney's. That was the name of his barbershop.
Gosh, I'm about ready to cry.
I found this picture. I'm sure you will recognize her.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. That was my wedding picture. My first #1 husband, Richard Lippincott, and we share a son, Jonathan, together. And this house that this photo was taken in, this was an 1862 house that my dad and mother restored in Old Town West in Newark. Very haunted. This house brought mediumship to the forefront because this place is where my mom and dad really started to believe in the other side and the encounters. The spirits that I saw in this house were residents, I believe, there, and possibly, from what I was told, the history that I did, one of the entities is very possible came attached with the stairway that I'm standing on.
One of the things that I just kind of been observing, because I had the opportunity to interview quite a few people that have similar stories, and there's a lot of mediumship that seem to be somehow connected to a haunted property. Now, who was the one that, when you were 6 months old, passed on the gift?
That was my grandfather Bertrand, who would have been Sophie's father.
Tell us a little bit about them, what you remember about them.
Okay, but I remember my mom telling me the story of how when she was growing up, prophetic things that he would say and things that came to fruition that she witnessed growing up as a child. And about 2 years ago, out of the blue, she just informed me, she said, now it's starting to make sense. And I said, what? And she says, when you were a baby and your great-grandfather, Thomas Bertrand, was holding you and he passed you to me to hold, he said, I now pass my gift to her. The rest is history.
So you believe that most of the medium power
Yes.
is on your mom's side?
Yes.
And it goes back at least 3 generations, if not more.
Correct. I believe so.
If your dad were here in spirit and listening to our conversation, do you think he would have anything to pipe in and add?
You know, you have my curiosity now, you know, because I don't know. I don't know if it was forced on him that he had to accept it, or maybe there was a chance that he was a believer back then and just didn't understand what it was. I know in my heart now, even when I go visit him at his grave, my ears start ringing, and that's always my sign for spirit when I go anywhere. And I went a few weeks ago and I said, Daddy, I hope you're proud of what your daughter's become. And my ears were ringing intently, and I said, I think that's a good sign.
Do you absolutely believe that departed family members are guardian angels or can be guardian angels?
You know, I have mixed emotion about that. I tell people, from what I've learned, I'm never going to dispute that because I always believe they're looking after our best interest and know what's going on in our current lives, because when I do readings, they show me current situations. I'll tell a family member, so-and-so is saying this. I just said that yesterday. Okay, that's confirmation that they're right there. They're just not in the physical form.
And do you feel that some of your departed family drop in and watch after you?
Absolutely. Absolutely do. Yes. I smelled ivory soap the other morning, and I know that was my dad. I smelled ivory soap, and oftentimes I'll smell, he'd use the straight razor and the brush and the old mug, one of the very few things that I have of
Being
him.
a barber, what
Absolutely.
would you expect?
We're gonna do
right?
old school. We're not doing a Bic or anything like that, right? Or a razor. And I smelled shaving cream, and I called my mom and I said, I think Daddy's here because I'm smelling shaving cream. And she said, Beth, I smelled it this morning too. To have that confirmation, and I know with the years that I've done what I do professionally as an investigator or just with my abilities, it takes an incredible amount of energy to manifest a smell.
Yes.
They really want you to know they're hanging around when they do that.
Because you weren't doing like readings or doing anything like that at that age, were you? Or were you not?
I was sensitive to that age, but hid it.
Yes.
Because it was so taboo. And you didn't want to talk about it, you know? And growing up, my mom and dad, we'll talk about it when we get home. If you're having an issue or feeling things, let's talk about it when we get home.
So I've always been curious. Do you think that it's entirely possible that people with mediumship ability, whether or not they're fully aware of it or not, do you think that they may possibly be drawn to certain locations that turn out to be active?
Very much so. Very much so. It's really strange that you brought that up because now I'm starting to do my own research as places that I went to as a child.
Beth, it's really been my pleasure actually getting to know your family.
Thank you.
Through the records, and I hope that brought back some
Just
memories and
incredible.
Even new information
Yes.
for you to kind of ponder over.
Absolutely. This is so lovely. This is a wonderful gift. Thank you so much. I'm very appreciative.
Well, you're certainly welcome, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you. Certainly will do that.
Right.
Although Beth possessed psychic abilities from a young age, it wasn't until her father passed that her gift transformed into a new calling. Not only does she bring comfort to those who are frightened to meet the ultimate end that awaits us all, but her work is a reminder that death may be a new beginning, with implications that could surpass anything we could ever imagine.
So I would like to tell anybody out there that's watching and pondering and Is there really an afterlife? 100%, without any hesitation.
Don't fear it. And you see your family, and that's the main thing, is seeing your family. And it does bring great comfort. It really does.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with the supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
I received a phone call where my mom was in grave condition. And I, of course, went right down there. And then the very next morning, she waited until I left. I stayed there for 3 days. I left for 5 minutes to take a shower, and they called me.
Did you see that ball of light? What light? Did you see it on the cameras? No, no, I didn't.
You know, nobody is alone when they pass.
On this episode of Family Spirits, we speak with Holly, who visits her mother in her final days. She is awoken by a light anomaly that she later learns is an occurrence related to her mother.
I'm Holly Buffington here at Waverly Hills to talk about the haunting of my mother. At the age of 12 years old, she had 2 brain tumors that they thought were inoperable. 98% of the children had passed away during the surgery. They actually did the surgery, and she was the only child to make it through it long term. They told my grandmother that she might not make it past her 20s and that she probably wouldn't have children. And I am one of 3, so she definitely overcame those odds. Incredibly strong woman. She was a great mom. She was always there for me. I actually grew up with my dad because of her illnesses, but I visited her every weekend. I used to take the bus from Providence all the way to Connecticut and get off on Route 44 at John Deere. My grandfather would pick me up at 8 or 9. So we had a great relationship. She was my best friend, basically my best friend, throughout childhood and all the way through me having kids. We had a great relationship. She developed a mass on one of her lungs, or what they thought was a small mass, and she was supposed to go in just one day, get the mass taken out. I was gonna pick her up the very next day, which I thought, wow, was kind of quick. So we got to the hospital, she got checked in. I actually left because I had my kids, I was a single mom. Picked up my kids, took them for ice cream. The doctor called in the middle of the ice cream shop and said, your mom's whole lung is deflated. I don't know how this woman's been walking around. He said, I have to take her whole lung out. Do you have my permission? He said, I don't think she's gonna make it otherwise. So I said, okay, go ahead and do it. Because it was supposed to be a small procedure, we never talked about what to do in the case that she can't make her own decisions. I drove her there with a male friend that she had. We stopped at a coffee shop to get coffee, and the male friend made a weird joke and said, oh, you might not ever get to have coffee again, Ann. And we all kind of laughed. That was my mom's name, Ann. And I kind of looked at him like, don't say that.
All right, just call me when you're done, okay? We'll be back?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sometimes these appointments take forever, though.
Finish your coffee. You never know. Could be your last one.
Don't say that! He's fine.
He's fine. Well, thanks, baby.
She was, you know, on life support at that point. Right afterwards, the other lung didn't really start to work. So when I got to see her that night, she had all the machines and everything already on her. And the nurses, like day 3, were like, oh, we think, you know, maybe she's not gonna wake up. Maybe we should take her off. And my sister and I went back and forth. And I just couldn't do it. Then all of a sudden she would improve. Probably by the end of May, she was still in the hospital. She would improve slightly to where they could take the ventilator out. And then maybe another week would go by and I would get another call. We're not sure how much time she's got. She was like a roller coaster. My birthday is on July 27th. On July 27th, I got a call and they said, your mom is, you know, probably not gonna make the night. Can you come down here? So I dropped everything and went to Hartford, Connecticut. She was pretty much at that time in a kind of a coma-like state, not really able to communicate too much. And that was the night when the first incident happened. When I first saw the orb come into the room, that was kind of the beginning of when the hauntings began. And that was really what stuck me, was what to do. It kept me up for nights and nights. My sister was like, I think we're being mean and we're prolonging it, and I just couldn't do it. But I was like, what if she wants me to? So that part emotionally really played with me the most. I looked at the entranceway to the her hospital room and noticed this little ball of light, what looked like a ball of light, kind of coming around the wall. And at first I looked at it and kind of thought, oh, maybe it's a, you know, piece of equipment or a nurse walking by with the cart. Or I see the ball of light again come in this time, only this time it's larger. So at that point it creeped me out a little bit. I jumped out of my chair and actually went to get the nurse.
Did you see that ball of light?
What light?
Did you see it on the cameras?
No, no, I didn't.
It looked like a man. You didn't see it?
No, I didn't.
And she said, you know, you're under a lot of stress and your mom is, you know, and I'm like, all right, well, I know, I saw something. It makes me emotional because I'm pretty sure she was waiting for him, but that night I told her, don't wait anymore, just, you know, don't worry about it. And I saw a huge white orb come into the room down the hall, just like it had. The light came right next to my mother's bed. At this point, it's pretty big, it's emanating, almost pulsing, I wanna say. Beautiful white with all kind of like the shimmering colors of the rainbow. And within seconds, I see it start to shape into my grandfather's face. And as soon as I saw that, I thought my mom was gone. So the instant I knew it was him, and he looked at me and smiled, and it was like such a calm look on his face. And then the very next morning, she waited until I left. I stayed there for 3 days. Sometimes people don't want you to see it or to witness it. You know, nobody is alone when they pass. I am 100% confident he came to get her, which is a beautiful but a bittersweet thing at the same time. I never got to see my grandfather before he passed. Through the interview with you guys, I realize now I think he came to say goodbye too. The smile on his face was like so reassuring. And now I'm like, wow, that was also my chance to say goodbye to my grandfather.
Hi, Holly. I'm Craig.
Hi, Craig. I'm Holly.
It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for sharing your stories.
You're welcome.
And welcome to Waverly Hills.
Thank you.
First time being here?
Yes, it was a great surprise.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, we try to keep the surprise as long as we can.
Of course.
So that, you know, you get a chance to actually spend a little time here, have the atmosphere sink in. And what better place to tell your own familial ghost story than in an actual haunted location,
Indeed.
right? But I bet you may be wondering, hey, I already gave my interview. Why am I in this room?
A little bit.
Sitting across the table with a guy in a suit and hat, right? It is an experiment. Believe it or not, you're going to be participating in a paranormal investigation.
Oh, cool.
In a roundabout way.
Okay.
What we'll be doing is we will be discussing you and your familial experiences, the paranormal experiences. Brandon is right next door in a nerve center. He's actually monitoring the atmosphere of which we're speaking.
Just finished talking to Holly about the story of her mother, who was a pretty remarkable woman. They didn't think she was gonna make it. They didn't think she was gonna make it past like 20 years old. They didn't think she was ever gonna have kids. Holly's one of 3. So her mother overcame a lot and was a great inspiration for Holly in giving her strength throughout her life.
All right, time to get out my equipment. I'm gonna set the, I think first things first, let's set that tripwire down. What Holly did up there, she's a strong woman, man. She's a strong woman.
Your story took place in a hospital as well.
Indeed.
So there is that link as well.
Nice.
So let's get started. First of all, I just want to go back to you feeling as though you had been touched while doing your interview.
We all thought it was gonna be boom, I'll be back in 3. We were calm. Something just touched me. Something just tapped my shoulder. Thank you. It was like a comforting. Well,
Really?
yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, I've been sitting here for how long? And I didn't feel, it literally just like this, very light, boom, boom. But I completely felt it.
And one of the things that I immediately got in the following discussion, picked up on, is that you are sensitive. Let's talk about your sensitivity and what your thoughts about it. When did you start feeling paranormal energy or some kind of force that you can't quite put your finger on? Some kind of energy feeling?
I think early, maybe like in my teens, I would feel a little bit of energy, but I really wasn't sure as to what it was, where it was coming from.
I have 2 devices with me right now. I have one, kind of looks like a lantern, sitting right here. And I have another one on the shelf right here. You can touch either one of these, and that's a way we can interact. If you understand that, could you please let me know by touching either one of those devices? I'm curious because Holly said that whenever, right before her mom passed, she was seeing these balls of light, these energy orbs, go into the hospital room where her mom was. And she believes that that was her grandfather.
If there's any entities in here, if there's anybody in here with me right now, any doctors here at Waverly, any residents of Waverly, or any friends of Holly's, if you're still with me and you didn't leave out of boredom watching me set everything up, which I think is interesting, feel free to interact with me.
I would say I have had a lot more experiences with energy after my mom passed, or after that experience that I had with my grandfather, which would have been 14 years this year.
This was a major turning point in your life spiritually, correct?
Absolutely.
That's what I get
Yes, absolutely.
from just hearing you talk about it with emotion.
Hello. So I want to talk to anyone that's in here with me right now.
You know, a lot of people say that this room has something in it that they don't really like. Something that might be of a little bit of a darker essence, so to say. I have not felt anything like that in this room.
Let me see if that's in frame here. It should be. Whoa. I think you were trying to communicate with me, or maybe you were interacting with that device inside of the morgue, in one of the morgue beds there. Is there somebody here with me right now? Again, the constant is around 994 hectopascals. It's usually, sometimes 995, 996, depending on where we are in the building. But 994, this amount is pretty par of the course.
Kind of a little bit of anxiety. It was comforting, but at the same time, it looked like it was almost alive. This little zoop, zoop. So I was a little bit startled at the same time. So startled, a little bit anxious, and kind of in wonderment at it.
Magnetic direction did change 11 degrees. At the same time, we did receive a few photon hits on the AMCCD. This was specifically when they were talking about the hospital experience she had, where she saw this light.
It's so quiet down here right now. So far we've had no EMF, no environmental changes, absolutely nothing in here.
A ball of white light, the way it was emanating and how then it transmogrified, sorry for using an SAT word, but how it transmogrified and just transformed into this shape of her grandfather and his smiling face. Now, our friend Holly upstairs said that there was someone who touched, oh, vibration. Right when I mentioned Holly, thank you.
I think the moment when it clicked is when the orb started to shape. It shaped him went from head to the shoulders, because that's really all I saw of him was his torso. The rest was all light. And as soon as it formed and I saw the face, it formed a face and I saw the smile, I was like, oh.
Mark that. Hello, is there someone here? If this is anything like the 5th floor, I'm gonna start getting EMF hits after hearing that. I wonder what Holly and Craig are talking about.
Like your grandfather and like your mother, you weren't there for the actual moment of passing.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even think that too until just now. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't there for either.
You developed a beautiful meaning out of it, because I sense that you do have guilt, that you weren't there even though it was perfectly understandable you were having a complication with your pregnancy, why you couldn't be at your grandfather's side. And after 3 days of being in that hospital, all you did was go and take a shower.
Yeah.
And then she's gone.
And she was gone. People several times over the years have asked me, you honestly don't fear death? And in all honesty, I can sit here and tell you, no. I know for a fact in my heart that somebody's gonna show up.
Someone related to Holly's here with me right now. Her grandfather, the father of her children, her mother, anybody who knows Holly, or, oh my goodness. Thank you, sorry about that. I'll continue. Massive hit on the tripwire. Haven't been getting any hits on the tripwire. That lit the whole thing up. I gotta let Brandon know that. That was absolutely remarkable. Sorry to interrupt, but massive
tripwire hit when I started talking about Holly's family members. Was getting emotional talking about it, and dude, it's way too...
You see this footage?
I know that this area that we're in now was the main lobby where you entered at. And what's sad is that so many people entered this lobby hoping that they would get help and never left here alive. That's got to have a strong emotional impact. You know, Mustafa's down in the morgue right now. Is somebody down there with him? Just heard a noise come from over here in front of me.
But even when they called me and they said she was gone, I still was like, okay, well, I know that Grandpa went back to get her. He made it a point to make sure that I knew.
Well, not every ghost story has to be scary,
No,
right?
I agree.
And yours definitely never intended to be that way. It was supposed to be comforting.
Thank you guys for giving the opportunity to tell this beautiful story. And I hope that it does reach someone and give them a little bit of hope.
Holly's emotional reflections led her to a realization that her grandfather's otherworldly visitation was a reminder she carries the same strength as the person she admires most.
Did you see that ball of light? What light? Did you see it on the cameras? No, no, I didn't.
Consider it a gift and cherish it as something that I think is a rare occurrence. And I think those of us who get to experience it, it's a beautiful thing that we should cherish and hold on to.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with a supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
So it was the day of her funeral, actually. We were at my husband's childhood home. I was walking through the house and noticed that down the hallway there was this light.
Ashley, had been walking, around the house with my dad. I don't know, something was on her mind. You could still feel it. You could still feel her there.
I did a little bit of research into your family. I have something I'd like to show you.
In this episode of Family Spirits, Ashley speaks with us about the death of her sister-in-law, which compelled her to confront a paranormal experience that led to a heartwarming reminder of their bond.
My name is Ashley Sparks. I am originally from London, Kentucky, and I'm a physician assistant and associate professor. Growing up, my grandmother was very open about paranormal experiences, so I was aware of the stories my entire childhood and did have experiences for most of my life and childhood as well, with the first one occurring when I was probably 4 or 5 years old that I can remember. I was laying in bed and rolled over, looking upwards. I was laying on my back. And there was a man standing next to the bed who at first I thought was my father, and then he leaned in and it was certainly not my father. I found out some 20 years later that the description actually matched a man who had murdered his father and himself in that home. Someone had left a newspaper clipping about it just out in the house one day. There was some article about the whatever anniversary of the event. After seeing that, it took a lot of the experiences I had away from being just misunderstandings or perhaps being fatigued into maybe there really is something going on. Growing up, the paranormal wasn't just grandma's stories. It became something very real and tangible that's been with me since childhood. My dad's best friend, whose name was Denny, has been in my life for as long as I can remember. He married my dad's sister, became Uncle Denny, and stayed Uncle Denny long after they separated. For about 6 years, he actually lived next door to us, which was fun because he was our football watching buddy. We had a really close relationship. When I was 14, he passed away suddenly. He passed away on New Year's Eve, and we woke up the next morning to a new year and horrible news. I went into my bedroom just to think and process. I'd never lost anyone that young. I'd lost a great-grandparent, but no one in their 50s before. So I was laying in my bed, just staring at the ceiling, thinking, and suddenly there's that feeling that someone's in the room. So I propped up and looked around. I had a lot of strange things happen in this particular house. But this was new. Something sat on the bed. And I could see the indention where someone had sat down. So I waited to see what would happen, and there's this voice. And all it says is he okay?
What I thought was kind of interesting was in learning more about her family, what kept coming through was that Ashley is scientific-minded.
Absolutely, and that's what makes this eyewitness testimony that she gave so interesting. It's because of her scientific mind. And another interesting point of this case, that really jumps out to me is emotion plays a big part in every day-to-day part of life, right? But also when it comes to paranormal phenomena, that just jumps out to me in a big way.
I was shocked and didn't really know who I was talking to or what they were talking about. So I just responded with, "What?" And the voice said, "Is your dad okay?" And I suddenly recognized it as Uncle Denny. So I told him, "No, he isn't, but he will be." And there was a pause, and he said, "Okay." And the indention lifted, and that feeling of someone else being in the room went away. I told my mother about it the next day. My mother said she had a similar encounter that night. She had woken up with this feeling that someone was in the room, sat up, and saw Denny standing at the foot of the bed. And he asked her, "Can he come with me?" He was gesturing towards my dad, and she said, "No, Denny, he can't. We need him here." And he stood for a moment and paused, said, "Okay," and disappeared. A few years later, my parents had moved out of that house. We actually moved to a different town, and I was sitting in my bedroom. I have no idea what I was doing, just killing time. And again, that sense of someone's in here. And again, that indention on the mattress of someone sitting next to me. And that voice, "Is your dad okay?" And this time I got to tell him, "Yeah, Denny, he is. He's okay." And he said, "Okay," and left. I haven't seen him since.
Sometimes friendship is closer than even family, right? And having friends that are there for you all the time, people that have your back at any corner. So this one to me is very heartwarming, first and foremost, but also very interesting when it comes to the case study.
Yeah, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. That's what the real saying is, blood is thicker than water. That's the original one, that's where it comes from. In the case of Ashley and Inez, that's her sister-in-law.
So I met my sister-in-law, Inez, when she was about 15 or 16 years old. This is before I married my husband, and fell in love with the kid immediately. She's just one of those people who has this beautiful light about her, and we were lucky enough to have a similar interest in music. She's also the same age as one of my sisters, so it was a very natural fit together.
John Sparks, I'm Ashley's husband of 17 years. They were just like sisters from the minute they met. Inez would have been her mid-teens, I guess. And she was getting right at the age where the much older brother association was weird. So for her to have Ashley to go talk to, it meant a lot.
Inez had a chronic autoimmune disorder that eventually she lost her life to. So when she was around 26, she passed away, and I saw her not too long after that. So it was the day of her funeral, actually. We were at my husband's childhood home where Inez had also grown up. I was walking through the house and noticed that down the hallway there was this light. This hallway was sort of long. There was a bedroom at either end. The very end of the hall was a utility closet that didn't have a window or a light in it. And yet there was this large oval glow, maybe a little less than 6 feet tall and taking up almost the whole width of the hallway. Somehow I just knew it was her. So I stood there for a minute, just watching it sort of flicker and dance. And I whispered out loud, "I love you, Nezzy."
I went back there and, Ash was just in there, I don't know, something was on her mind.
And it faded out. And as soon as we walked in the house, I had this sort of strange urge to go into her closet, which I've never done. I ignored it, continued walking through the house, and the longer we were in the house, the stronger that became. And I could see this closet. I kept having this image of this closet in my head over and over. I felt like if I didn't get in that closet, I was going to have a panic attack. I told my husband I just need a minute in Inez's room, and walked down that same hallway where I had seen her before. And as soon as I put my hand on the doorknob, there was this, I can only describe it as painless electric shock, just this jolt of energy up my arm and into my chest and head. So I turned into her closet and just started looking around. And as soon as I crossed that threshold, I knew there was something in there that I was supposed to find. I flipped through the clothes that were left in there, but none of that felt like what I was meant to find in there. So I started searching the top shelf, but it's quite tall and has a lip around it, so I could just barely get my fingertips over it. So I left the room in tears, just so upset and panicked that whatever this was, I couldn't find it. My husband met me in the hallway, so he went back in with me. He's a bit taller than me, so he was able to slide his hand across, and we found 2 vinyl records that we had purchased for her on her birthday a few years before. The records were our favorite mutual band. And as soon as he pulled them down, I knew that was it. And it felt like all of the air rushed out of me. Like having the wind knocked out of you, but without the pain. And then it was done. So we got in the car, and I was wrapping up in every jacket I could find. It was absolutely freezing all of a sudden. But as we were driving away, we were talking about the house, and my husband made a comment about how Inez would have hated what they've done to her room. And I thought he meant pulling the baseboards down. And he said, no, the paint. So what are you talking about? It's still purple. It's the same color it always was. And he looked at me and said, honey, the room is beige.
Hi, Ashley. It's a pleasure meeting you.
It's nice to meet you.
Thanks for sharing your stories with us. There's quite an interesting variety going on here. Now, you say you're from London, Kentucky, correct?
Yes, that's correct. London, East Bernstadt, sort of that general area.
And you said that you work in education as one of your vocations. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I am a physician assistant educator.
It's very science-based.
Yes, it is all medicine.
Well, I find that fascinating because the other side of you is to do with the supernatural side and the belief in the paranormal. And so I did a little bit of research into your family.
Okay.
And I have some notes and some questions to share with you. So let me open up and grab your case file here. I did find your papa's obit. According to what I was able to research, he married your grandmother, Myrtle, on October 22nd, 1982.
Okay.
In Campbell, Tennessee. Now let's talk a little bit about your side of the family. You said that your grandmother was a sensitive. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, so it's my maternal grandmother. Her name was Elsie, and she very much believed in spirits and ghosts and demons and had every superstition and Appalachian method of everything from telling the weather to curing warts. She told me stories from the time I was very young, some maybe a little too scary for a kid, but that's okay. I think that's kind of what piqued my interest in all of this. She felt that family members visiting were good spirits and everything else you needed to avoid. And she actually passed those beliefs down to my mother, who has had experiences but is very hesitant to speak of them.
How many other people in your family thought you're sensitive? Because I'm definitely getting the impression, just listening to you and talking to you, that you are sensitive and have been sensitive for a long time and maybe have been embarrassed by it a time or two.
Yeah, I think growing up, there's always this fear that you'll be called crazy. And at some point, I really just stopped worrying about that. I also have a science and medical background, so I feel like I have a pretty good head on my shoulders and I can differentiate what is actually happening versus what might be a trick of the mind.
But you threw a new one at me when you talked about that when you were 4 or 5.
Yes.
And the person that you felt was in your room as a child, and then you later found the article where the house that you were living in had a, what was it again?
It was a murder-suicide.
Murder-suicide. And were you the only one to have that experience in that house?
I was not. I found out later there were a lot of experiences. The reason I was in that particular room was because my parents had moved me into their bedroom because things in my room were moved around, flipped upside down. My crib was flipped over once. So we had a lot of experiences in that house that I didn't know about until I was much older.
So let's talk a little bit about Uncle Denny. Your story, I find it interesting, and the fact that your dad also had experiences. This is kind of a sensitive subject, so if I say anything at this point that you don't feel comfortable about talking about, just please feel free to speak up.
Okay.
You had mentioned very briefly Denny's death, and that it came as a big tragedy, and there were rumors swirling and that you didn't hear about the cause of his passing till years later. and that it was just something that your family, especially your dad, just didn't really want discussed. And since Denny was an in-law, he is still family.
Right.
And obviously his close friendship with your dad and even with you. Now, you had heard that it was his death rumored. To be polite about it, that he had issues, chemical addiction issues throughout his life that he struggled with. I did find a record that discussed how he died. And it wasn't an overdose, it wasn't anything like that listed. Instead, what I saw was it was congestive heart failure.
That's nice to hear because I know those rumors are still swirling. I was actually at that house a few weeks ago and spoke with someone who had that same misconception about his death.
Well, I hope it kind of brings some kind of closure or some kind of clarity because I didn't see anything that suggested that it was otherwise.
Good, thank you.
Well, it sounds like Denny was definitely trying to get to your dad.
Yeah.
But your dad wasn't going to have it. He's not the type that's going to confess one way or the other, correct?
Correct.
I see.
Being able to see him after the fact has been very comforting.
We are finding similarities. One of the things that keeps popping up are loved ones coming through to sensitives or people that are open to it and open for communication, and there's always that sense of like wonderment. And the messages are almost always the same. It's always of like peace and love. I find this common theme because you don't know who all is out there, but there's probably a lot of people watching this show that they're going, oh, that happened in my family. Every family has its ghost story. I find your stories to be very credible just because of the clarity that you have.
I'm also more open to it and less afraid than when I was raised on those ghost stories.
Thank you, Ashley, for sitting down and sharing a piece of yourself with me. It is truly a pleasure interviewing you and getting to know you, and I think that you're quite a phenomenal person. May all the future experiences that you have will be positive ones.
Great. Thank you, Craig.
It's uncanny to think that Ashley's lifelong paranormal journey all began with her grandmother's ghost stories. While many of us grew up on supernatural myths, Ashley appears to have lived them, from encountering a spirit in her childhood home, to being visited by her sister-in-law and uncle from beyond the grave. Ashley's real-life ghost story suggests that familial bonds can survive death.
So I think my biggest takeaway is that the people who love us never really leave us. We may not always know that they are there. We may not be able to hear or see them. I'm fortunate enough to have that connection, but I don't think that love ever dies or goes away.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with the supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
A few months later, things started getting weird. At night, the bedroom door would open. Just slowly open and smack against the wall. And this kept happening for a while, and I started feeling like somebody was coming in. It was insane. It was like a shadow, like mist, was coming in through the door. I sat up and screamed, "Bloody murder."
On this episode of Family Spirits, we speak with Abby, who as a child encountered her deceased grandfather. Years later, her son also encountered the same figure. Is this a possible generational gift?
I'm Abby Keller. I'm here at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and I'm here to talk about the story of my grandfather's haunting. There is a story that I'd tell you guys. So can I tell that right now? I'm afraid to talk about that. After my grandfather died, it like shattered my soul. I got Bell's palsy. It was just hard, you know, because not only did he pass, I had to mourn my grandmother before she passed. Because towards the end, she didn't know who I was. And I think that's a huge reason why my grandpa was trying to bring us some comfort. I was really close with my grandparents. We would spend summers with them in Tennessee, and they would take us camping and do all kinds of things with us. They were my #1 fans throughout my life. He just always pushed me to be who I was and keep being outspoken. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. Sorry. This is nerve-wracking and hard to talk about. He passed in December 2020. A couple months later, I was driving home with my son. And my son was barely 3 at the time, and out of the blue, he said, "I went to heaven last night." I was like, "Okay, who'd you see? What were you doing in heaven?" And he said, "Well, I was with great-grandpa McCombs." And at that point, I started crying, because it's still pretty fresh. And I was like, there's no way this is happening right now, you know? And he said, you know, I asked him, what were you doing? And he said, well, he got us pizza. And that struck me odd for my son to say that, because when we would go down and visit, my grandparents always had Little Caesars waiting in the kitchen. I was like, okay, what were you guys doing? And he said, well, we were playing and he tickled me. And we used to drive in the vehicle. I had to sit in the middle of the truck, my grandpa, my grandma, and then me, my brother in the back, and he would just grab your knee and just tickle you out of the blue. At the end of this conversation, my son goes, oh, he said he's coming to take Gigi home soon because it's her time to come home. How would a young child who doesn't even understand grandpa passed or anything know all these things? A few months later, things started getting weird. At night, the bedroom door would open, just slowly open and smack against the wall. And this kept happening for a while, and I started feeling like somebody was coming in. I was in 3rd grade when I first started experiencing, I guess, paranormal. I didn't realize it, you know, at the time, but I refused to be alone in that house. It just, eyes were on you constantly is what the feeling was like. And I would see shadows all the time. And that's what opened my eyes and my curiosity to this. And as I'm getting older, it's almost like maybe I'm accepting it more. And it just continued on from there, where I would see dark, tall figures, a lot of it shadows, and most recently in the years it's been orbs and lights. There was a pretty huge pause, and when my son had the visitation from my grandfather, it was like something went off in me, and it was just relit, and I couldn't ignore it anymore. It's like my grandpa was warning me, because he knew that I needed to know. And my grandmother, she had dementia. So when he passed, it just declined. There was only a 7-month gap between their deaths. I used to call them for everything, good or bad. And I didn't even have to say who I was or what was going on. My grandparents knew, like, oh, you're upset today, or today's a good day. And they always told me how proud of me they were, and that I'm doing so good, and that I'm a good mom, and yeah, it had a huge impact. I started feeling like somebody was coming in the bedroom at night. I told my husband, and he put out our trail cam, and we did catch the door opening, but he chalked it up to, it was just the heat and the house must have settled, and that's why the door was opening at night. The first time I saw my grandfather, I woke up, and my husband always comes in the bedroom a couple hours after I do at night, and I look over on my husband's side of the bed, dark figure just standing there, and I thought it was my husband. So I reached up to smack him, be like, quit staring at me, you weirdo, get in bed. As I went to smack him, it disappeared. I sat up and screamed bloody murder. Short time after that, a couple days, give or take, I was in the bathroom, same shadow man, crossed the wall. The last time I saw him, the door opened, and it was insane. It was like a shadow, like mist, was coming in through the door, and I could see the body all the way up to the mouth. And it was talking to me. I could never see the eyes or the face, and I wasn't scared. And he walked all the way up to me, to the side of my bed, and it felt like he was comforting me, as if things are going to be okay. And then it slowly just dissipated. And a couple days later, my grandmother did die. And that morning that she passed away, we were getting stuff taken care of and running errands and all the things that needed to be done. And I started feeling very warm and almost like I had maybe had a glass of wine. So I pulled over to the side of the road, and I could hear and feel like my grandparents almost coming together. And in that same moment, it was the happiest moment I ever felt. Like, if you could imagine the happiest moment you could feel, it was in that moment. And I knew that they were together. And I could hear other people with them. It made me feel like a family reunion, you know, where you're excited to see people that you haven't seen in forever. That's what it felt like.
Hi, Abby. It's a pleasure meeting you and getting to hear your stories, particularly your paranormal experiences involving both of your grandparents, as well as your child's experience as well. Do you have any idea why we're even meeting in this room right now at this moment?
No.
Well, you're actually part of an experiment. A paranormal experiment. Have you ever investigated before?
No.
Okay, well, this is pretty close.
Okay.
What's going on here is that we're in Waverly Hills, a notoriously haunted place.
Yeah.
All kinds of activity here, and when you just stop and just take a moment and look around, this building was built in 1926, served as a TB hospital for decades. People came in here with all kinds of problems, stories, emotions. So what we're going to be talking about are very emotional memories, very emotional experiences of a paranormal nature in a haunted place. So we are going to be checking for any kind of pressure disturbances. We're going to be monitoring just outside. You know, Mustafa and Kevin are investigating. They're going to be actually asking questions pertaining to your story to see what kind of results that they'll get.
Right now, I'm on the 4th floor of Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Further down on this floor, Abby is currently being interviewed by Craig and is engaging in what I assume to be an emotionally charged conversation. During our interview with her earlier, she seemed to be very touched in talking about her grandfather and grandmother.
Here at Waverly Hills, I'm going to try to get a communication going with anybody here that may have had similar stories like Abby's. If anyone here maybe still visits with loved ones, to comfort them when another loved one is getting ready to pass on.
Brandon's next door. He's looking at monitors, seeing if there's any kind of pressure hits, and we are going to discuss your family history and your relationship with your grandparents. So, are you cool with that?
Yeah, I'm cool. Yeah, they were like a positive light in my life. You know, I grew up with a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, and it didn't matter how I felt or what was going on. Like, as soon as I called them, by the end of the phone call, we're laughing, and I forgot about all my problems. I say a lot that, you know, they're a big reason why I'm even still alive today, you know. They did a lot for me, and I miss them a lot.
Okay, first thing, we're going to set up the Zoom and have a sonic microphone. Last but not least, we have the APL. I'm gonna be setting this down right there. And that's set.
So it looks like we're going to base at about a 0.1 to a 0.2 in here. So good morning. My name's Kevin. I've been in here several times before, so I doubt that I'm too much of a stranger to you. I hope you're having a blessed morning. It's a nice day to have your doors open and maybe be out on the breezeway.
You are not a blood relative of them, am I correct?
Yeah. My grandparents had a hard time conceiving children. My grandpa, he was deployed to Vietnam, you know, and he got the Agent Orange and a bunch of heart problems, and they were never able to conceive. So they adopted. The story I was told is that my grandfather's sister, Stella, was out visiting some people in Carolina, and just so happened that she bumped into these people and was like, yes, I know someone who cannot take care of this baby. And my Aunt Stella, my grandfather's sister, said, well, I know people, and they called up my grandparents, and it all came through, and they were able to adopt my mom.
Normally, we don't really condone ghost apps and stuff that you install on your phone, because if you're using something like a Spirit Box app or like an it's EMF. This is yet another occasion when I start talking about our paranormal investigative methodology in which we start receiving EMF aberrations. That's motion going over there. It seems like whatever entities are here do enjoy the aspect of paranormal investigation and hearing us talk about it. I think it's because Waverly Hills Sanatorium has become synonymous with paranormal investigation. Would you say that's the case? Whoever's here, it's fine. You can come talk to me.
Do you have a strong relationship with a family member that you still go to visit? If yes, could you please touch one of these devices and let me know?
One of the things that we explore with the show, even, and with my research, is this theory that psychic ability or some kind of empathic ability can be genetic. One of the things that piqued our interest was the fact that your child and you both have had paranormal experiences.
There's still days like when something happens with Seb or something happens with me, and I go to like pick up the phone and can't. And it's hot, but.
What I thought was interesting is that on your grandmother's side, her father immigrated from England.
Yes. Yeah.
So I thought that's kind of cool to have like a recent immigrant, kind of a new family.
Yeah.
In America setting up.
Is there somebody here with me right now? You're trying to get my attention? You want to talk to me? Are you trying to converse? If so, could you interact with that device again? You're more than welcome to do so. I don't think, from my experience in investigating here, that that's the way to go about trying to interact with the entities here. I really don't. Is there somebody here who knows who Abby is? I knew it.
Ooh, I just got pressure changes. I seen that. Are you over next to the puppy? Did you just touch that box next to the puppy? It's okay if you did. I just wanted to see if you could do it again.
While you guys were speaking and you were having those emotions, the emotions that were coming out, and you're talking about your grandparents, we did have some pretty significant disturbances here on the magnetometer, specifically on the Z-axis, which is one of the first times I think we were able to significantly document emotion affecting the environment in this way, at least in a controlled setting like this. I mean, we've seen this in our investigations in the past, but I've never seen it in a controlled scenario like this where we were specifically talking about familial history. So it's very interesting, and it seems that your emotions did bring out something in the environment here. So,
do you know who Abby is? Am I speaking with one of her grandparents right now? Or a member of her family? Thank you.
Was that you over there? Did you just touch that device? I just want to make sure that was you.
My husband says I'm a spitting image of my grandmother, like my goofiness and quirkiness. You can tell I spent a lot of time with her, and you would not know that we were not blood.
This is definitely a case where love built that bridge that defies genetics and familial bloodlines. This is actually stronger than that. That's a rare kind. It's not as prevalent as the other kind. That makes this special, a very special bond. And I am so glad to hear these stories because, again, it sparks my own memories. But this is your story, and it's special and unique unto you and your child. And I hope that they will always be inside of you, guiding you. What you're doing is very brave. Discussing this publicly, and it's a very difficult thing to do, to talk about something emotional and to talk about something that is so, that you're still greeting people that you are still grieving. I can't say enough how much I appreciate this. It takes courage to come and say and share your story.
Thank you guys.
Abby's story presents an exciting variable. It suggests that emotional bonds formed in life transcends blood relationships. Additionally intriguing is that her paranormal experiences seem to have extended to her son, reinforcing the love between her and her grandparents. APRA also documented several environmental changes that coincided with her emotional recollections.
I would say for anybody that's receiving anything, don't be afraid. They're just trying to comfort you and to let you know that they are here and they are watching you and that they're okay. And you don't have to be sad because they're always going to be with you throughout your whole life.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with the supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
So the first visitation that I recall getting from my father, and I came home from work that day, put my things down on the kitchen counter, and I had a little refrigerator magnet that had our family crest. The magnet flew off the refrigerator door, hit the kitchen wall on the other side, landed on the floor face up.
When my mother passed away, it was extremely traumatic for me.
On this episode of Family Spirits, we speak with Gail and her sister, who reunite after a 10-year hiatus to tell us about how they received messages from their departed father.
I'm Gail Riley, and I'm here at Waverly Hills Sanitarium to talk about the visitations from my father. Well, he was kind of a good old boy. But all of the experiences that I had with him was always surrounding my mother. My father died 15 years prior, and although they had been divorced for years and each one had remarried twice, we suspect that my mother was the love of his life, and he was always looking out for her. Never lost the love for my mother, even though we're quite sure she didn't feel quite the same way.
I'm Caroline, I'm Gail's sister. I do acknowledge my sister and my father had a very close relationship. Mine was more my mother and I. We had more of not a bad relationship, but certainly not the best.
So when he would come back to visit me, it was always surrounding taking care of her. The first time that I can recall him coming to me is my mother was living down in Southern California, out in Northern California, and my sister is on the East Coast in North Carolina. And I had come home from work. I had gotten a phone call that day that my mother was in the hospital. And I wasn't quite sure at the time if I should bother my sister with this. I didn't know how serious it was. I didn't want to alarm her. I had a little magnet, refrigerator magnet, that had our family crest on it. As soon as I put my things down, I'm still pondering if I should call her. The magnet flew off the refrigerator door, hit the kitchen wall on the other side, landed on the floor face up. So all I could see was our family name. I immediately ran to the phone and called her because I figured that's my father telling me to get the family together. I could not have done that trip without my sister. It was just tiring, wearing, and, you know, we were holding each other up through it all. You know, I told her what prompted the phone call, that I wasn't sure, and it's up to her if she wanted to come out. But I explained what happened, and she got on the plane the next day, too. So I had moved my mother up from Southern California to an assisted living facility by me after her husband had passed. And she was having her 90th birthday. And so I was trying to get the whole family together to come up and celebrate with her and surprise her at the assisted living facility. Well, everybody was able to come except for one nephew. I woke up the day that they were all expected to arrive in town and was putting on my makeup, doing my hair, turned on my blow dryer, and a dime flew out of the blow dryer like a gun and hit me in the chest. Why is there a dime in my blow dryer? It never leaves the drawer. It's either in the drawer or in my hand. There's no reason for any change to be around it. So I immediately called a medium friend of mine saying, okay, what does this mean? The date on the dime had no significance to me. I had no idea, but it was just too bizarre. I told her, she's asked me what was going on in my life. I told her about everybody coming into town the next day. And she says, check with your family members and see if they've received any kind of, you know, surprising money. So I called my son, and he said, you know, it's funny you should ask, because when I woke up this morning and I pushed my alarm off and moved the clock, and there was a dime under it. And he said, there is no reason for change to be there. I keep my spare change on the bureau, not on my nightstand, but there was a dime under his alarm clock. So now I call my sister. You know, have you received any surprising kind of coins or money? No, I haven't gotten anything.
Really and truly, everything I heard, I think the main thing that stands out with that story is how utterly upset I was that I was left out.
So I call her youngest son, my nephew, ask him the same question. He had gone surfing that morning, and when he opened his jar of wax to prepare his surfboard, there was a dime inside.
My children, my sons, are not necessarily involved in, you know, paranormal or anything like that. So when I heard that they were like freaked out, literally, about them receiving the dimes, and I hadn't gotten one, I was like really like uncomfortable is a word that I would use, but really I was upset for days.
So then I called my other nephew. Now he was the one who was not going to be able to make it to the party. He was also in North Carolina. But I asked him, and he said, you know, it's funny you should ask, because my wife and I went out last night to buy a nice bottle of wine because they were going to be celebrating, you know, his grandmother's birthday virtually with us. And I pulled out a bottle of wine from a rack, and there was a dime laying underneath the bottle. And he said the weirdest part of that is that it was a wire rack, and the dime was perfectly balanced on one of the wires. Now that makes 4 out of 5 of us that had received a dime in a strange way. It's my sister, Caroline, have you gotten a dime yet? Well, no, I haven't gotten a dime. You know, Dad always liked you best, so I didn't get one, you know.
I kind of adjusted to the thought that I was never going to get my dime. But once I was getting ready to leave, and I had already kind of put it out of my mind, then I opened up my socks and a dime fell out. And it was a feeling that it's hard to explain, but it gave me this peace that I've never experienced with my father's death at all.
You had the dime the whole time, you just wore the wrong pair of socks. So we had all received dimes, and I think Dad was very happy that we were coming together to celebrate her 90th birthday.
Hi, Gail. Hi, Caroline.
Hello.
Happy to see you both. I'm Craig. And your stories are very fascinating. It's great to have you both here. You're sisters.
Yes.
When's the last time you've seen one another?
Well, she figured 9.5 years, which is
unreal to us, but
unreal. Yeah.
So you haven't seen each other till now in almost a decade?
Yes, that's correct.
Isn't that sad?
Wow.
Yeah.
So the paranormal brought you together.
That's right.
You had no idea where you were coming to do your interview, right?
No.
No.
I'm blown away.
She was really blown away.
Waverly Hills, Waverly Hills. Do you know why we're meeting across from a table right now?
Not really, but I guess just to get different viewpoints. I don't know.
There is that. We're going to talk a little bit more about your experiences, but we're also participating in a very experimental paranormal investigation as we speak.
Okay.
So, as you know, you've had paranormal experiences doing your tours in, California?
Correct.
There's a lot of emotion runs through historic landmarks.
Yes.
And Waverly Hills being one of the most paranormal hotspots in the U.S., if not the world.
Yeah.
What better place to discuss family spirits and, familial stories in places that has a lot of familial stories, many of them not spoken of, long gone.
All right, Waverly on the 3rd floor, down here at the very end of the hall. We just talked to Gail and her sister Caroline about some of the instances that they have had with her father. So we're going to see if we can communicate with anyone here that may have had similar experiences, or if they can relate to any of the things that Gail and Caroline experienced.
After talking with Gail and Caroline, I wanted to investigate the 4th floor because one consistent trend that we've been seeing with a lot of our subjects here is that they mention several times that they felt as if somebody was right behind them or somebody touched them while they're in the middle of their interview.
I always feel him over my right shoulder. Hi, Dad.
While we're talking, Brandon is next door in the nerve center, and he's actually monitoring the environment here. So if there's any fluctuations based on anything we're talking about, he's going to be aware of it.
Okay, nice.
Wow. No, that's cool.
Now, your father passed away, I want to say, in 1999, correct?
Yes.
I had given him a small tape recorder and a memory book, and I just wanted him to write down some memories so that I would have something to go back on.
So my name's Kevin, and I'm coming here today to talk to you a little bit about the stories that were just shared by Gail and her sister Caroline upstairs. I'm not sure if you may have heard some of that, and they feel that their father came to them in a time when they needed him.
Actually, I found out later that as he was recording this for us, he wasn't feeling well, and he died about 5 minutes after recording.
Well, he was actually recording and he
when
stopped
he got,
it when he felt bad, and he died.
And he died minutes later.
I can't listen to it because of that. I don't know when it's going to happen, and I just can't. I've read his memoirs.
Yeah.
Caroline was talking. She said that the dime motion So if there's somebody here who heard me mention Caroline and Gail's name, and the dime specifically, who set that off, could you do that again, please? Are you intentionally walking by that device?
Because of those memories, I felt like he was sad, and versus thinking of them as this wonderful time, I felt like he was going more in like, I'm sad about losing all this.
He had that blessing of being able to put his final thoughts down. You know, maybe he could have said more or would have said more, but it sounds like he had that opportunity to do that. It must be absolutely heartbreaking, though, to hear it. It's his very last words. How many people have that?
Yeah.
How many people can actually do that or have that available means to record?
Right.
Wow, that is heavy.
I know you know how to make these devices work, and I know you have the energy and ability to use them, because I've seen you do it before. So I'd really appreciate it if you're able to please talk with me and kind of help me find out, more about you, and if you have had experiences similar to Gail's.
Why dimes? We got feedback motion movement when we mentioned dimes. Why dimes?
So the dimes actually happened sometime after his passing, correct?
Correct.
There's also a concept called dimes from heaven. Have you heard of that phrase?
I haven't.
No.
Okay. It's actually a widely believed, especially for those who this phenomena happens to. But it's a symbolic meaning that a lot of people have attributed to finding dimes either right after a family member passes or in conjunction with some kind of crisis, but it's usually right after.
Oh, wow.
Is Gail's father here? If so, could you interact with that dark blue box on the floor? Right there. Thank you. Am I speaking with Gail's father right now? Could you interact with that box again, please? Well, that's pretty crazy. Just 2 times when I mentioned things having to do with Gail.
Its meaning is that it's a sign of love, usually from a loved one that had passed.
I didn't understand it at the time to the degree I do now.
So you actually do paranormal investigations, and you also lead historic tours.
Yes.
Of historical landmarks.
Correct.
When did you get drawn into that side?
I'd done our genealogy,
Yes.
and it was time to, gather, the 2 of us and our cousin.
Yeah.
And go back and visit some of these places. First of all, the whole trip worked out perfectly. Even things that we hadn't planned just fell in our lap just perfectly.
Did you ever come across in your research ancestors that were in Salem at the time of the Salem witch trial?
No.
It's showing that you are related to one of the people involved in the Salem witch trials.
Oh, great.
Someone named Mary Warren.
Huh.
Well, Mary Warren was one of the main people that ignited the Salem witch trials.
Oh.
She was a confessed Salem witch. Mysterious past. What she did is she was arrested, and before she could be charged, she started naming other people as witches. They were brought up on charges, a lot of back and forth, but ultimately Mary herself confessed to practicing witchcraft. In fact, the Arthur Miller play The Crucible is written about her. I don't know why she popped up and not on your genealogy. That's something you have to look into. But she is buried in a grave in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Okay.
I believe it's under the name Mary Pierce and not Mary Warren. So this is a little bit of a mystery that you need to look into if you're interested in finding out whether or not you do have that direct line.
Well, if I had turned in all those people, I'd change my name too.
Her story just like it affects me. Makes me think of my own kids. Brandon's got a son too. So does Craig, he's got kids, but I've just been thinking about my kids a lot. Listening to Gail.
The most interesting disturbance we had during this observation was when they were specifically talking about the dimes from heaven phenomena. We not only had a 4-degree change in the magnetic direction on the kestrel instrument, but we also had a EMCCD hit at the exact same time. So it does seem to correlate with that specific phenomena. We have to analyze this further, but it does line up perfectly with the phenomena.
Gail, Caroline, it's been a pleasure sitting down here and chatting with you about your stories and everything.
Well, it's been a pleasure to share.
Sure.
Except for that last bit.
But no, it's helped me
Yeah,
to understand my sister, so it's okay.
The sibling rivalry
Continues.
renews after a 10-year hiatus.
That little sister Fink.
Yeah, she's the little one.
Reunited by their father's death, Gail and Caroline witnessed paranormal phenomena too prevalent to ignore. Unified once more in Waverly Hills, we registered what appeared to be intelligent reactions in the form of EMF fluctuations.
I would just advise anyone to keep looking for the signs. If something strange does happen, just don't brush it off and try to find a meaning to that. They may not come and contact you directly, but they may visit other loved ones who can relate that story to you.
Their shared experience serves as a reminder that the love of a parent may very well be eternal. After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with a supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
This experience was actually really frightening. This experience really changed the way that I thought about the afterlife, changed the way that I really thought about life in general. This was on the 3rd floor of our home, and that's where my grandpa lived. I think in that instance, my grandfather was watching over me. I think that he was actually looking out for me. It was so scary, but at the same time, I think that it actually saved my life.
I did a little bit of research into your family. I have something I'd like to show you.
Well, I've known Brandon for years, and he and I have had lots of discussion over paranormal theory, and he's opened my mind a lot to a number of possibilities. So when he called me to ask me to come in and help him on this particular project, I could not say no.
Typically, paranormal investigators, they're going to be spending time in abandoned buildings, and they're doing field research, and you're trying to get instant feedback or recordings on devices that you could analyze later. This puts a face to the phenomena. This gives us history. This gives us names. And this gives us actually potentially quantifiable data that is linked to people that we could then combine with our research.
In this episode of Family Spirits, Michael recounts how the spirit of his grandfather reached out from beyond the grave to save his life. Upon reflecting on how he narrowly escaped this potential childhood tragedy, Michael later learned that his relatives have often downplayed paranormal occurrences of their own, leading him to learn more about his family's own haunted history.
So my name's Michael D'Agostino. I've had a few paranormal experiences that occurred after my grandfather had died. So when I was about 5 years old, my grandfather, who I was very close to at a young age, he had passed away. So this was the first time I'd ever dealt with death. Being very young, was very upset by it, and he was living with us in our house. So he lived on the 3rd floor of our home. When he passed away, all of us were really upset, obviously, and we were all very close to him, and I had taken it particularly hard at such a young age and being so close with him. I was upset. My sister was trying to console me. At that point, my mom suggested that she should read me a book, right, or read me a story to take my mind off of the death of my grandfather. So my sister had taken me to a room, and she was reading a book to me, and really at that moment when she started reading, on the opposite side, on my left-hand side, she was sitting to my right, I heard a whisper in my ear that said, "Don't worry, it's gonna be okay." Don't worry, it's gonna be okay. So that was really the first thing that occurred in the house, and that really started, from there, a couple other experiences that had happened. So my grandfather was a very jovial man. He was always smiling, always laughing, and he was always very warm and very kind to us as kids. I spent a lot of time with him in his room on the 3rd floor in our basement. We had a living room down there in the basement. And he was the type of guy that would hide and stash snacks around the house, and he really wasn't supposed to be eating salty food or any of these types of snacks because he actually had a medical condition. But of course I didn't know this as a 5-year-old, so when I would be hanging out with him, just me and him, he would tell me, "Hey, why don't you go over there and move that stack of records on the shelf, or move a couple books on the shelf," and there would be like a bag of potato chips or like pretzels or something back there that he wasn't supposed to be eating. So that was just kind of one of the funny quirks, you know, growing up with him in the house. And I just really remember him being like very kind and just really really kind of what you expect from a really good grandfather.
So Michael truly believes that his life was saved by an unseen force, and that unseen force may very well have been his grandfather.
I think what's really cool about his stories is that it's cyclical, right? Because of this paranormal experience he believes that he had kind of escalated into this thing where he believed his life was saved.
These emotions are coming back up again as he's telling the stories.
And I remember this was sometime after my grandpa had died at this point, and my mom was up there renovating the bathroom, and it was a full apartment, so to speak. There was a bedroom, a bathroom up there, and another spare bedroom. And I was just up there, just being a kid, just kind of hanging out with her, and we were the only ones home at the time. I asked her, "Hey, you know, I want to go downstairs, I want to take this box down." What I had planned to do as a kid, I would take these huge cardboard boxes and just like cut a door in it and a hole and make kind of like a little fort out of it. So she was preoccupied with what she was doing, and I grabbed one of these big boxes and I walked over to her and said, "Hey, do you mind if I take this downstairs?" So I take this box and I'm walking down the hall to get to the stairway. And at this point, you know, I'm facing now with this huge box. I'm a 5-year-old kid. The box is about up to my nose, so I'm just looking over the top of this box at the top of the staircase. And right when I'm starting to look over the edge, I'm about to take a step, I remember thinking in the back of my head that this is actually pretty dangerous. This staircase was extremely steep on the 3rd floor. I have kind of like 1 foot hovering over the step, and I'm thinking about moving forward. I'm just thinking like, man, I can't really see anything. And right at that point where I'm about to step, from the right-hand side of me, I heard a loud voice, and it was in like a shrieking, high-pitched voice that almost sounded to me like a cartoon. It said, "Stay back." And I just remember having total fear from the sound of that voice. And from a 5-year-old, the only point of reference I could really think of was it sounded like a cartoon. And I dropped the box. At this point, I'm like petrified. I'm just sort of frozen still, don't know what to do. And I start calling for my mom. She's not responding. She has the radio playing in the other room. And I call to her and I say, hey, Mom, did you hear that? Did you call for me? Did you hear something? And she had no idea what was going on. She was busy painting. But from that day forward, I really, have always thought of, what else is out there after death? Who's looking after us? I really feel like that voice that was really so scary actually saved my life that day, or potentially saved me from really bad injury.
He himself said that this whole thing has made him think about the possibility of life after death, when typically he would look at things empirically.
He wants to connect very much with his family at this point, and the ghost stories, of course, was part of his childhood.
I think in that instance, my grandfather was watching over me. I think that he was actually looking out for me, and I think that he was still watching over the family, and I think that he saw something about to happen that was potentially going to cause, great injury or even death, and he intervened that day. So in my family, there were a couple other instances of paranormal activity at my grandmother's house. One Christmas when we were there, I had another experience, this time really relating around something I'd seen rather than something I had heard. It was the end of the night, things were kind of winding down, and I just started sort of wandering through the apartment up there, and I was looking for my cousin, and I remember going from room to room looking for him, but I remember there was two chairs in the room, four-legged chairs, and I remember looking into the room, and for some reason, I just had a feeling come over me that I just kept looking in there. And when I'm staring into that room, I saw one of those chairs lean back on two legs. And I remember my mom, again, kind of downplaying it, saying that, oh, maybe it was just the lighting and maybe I just saw something that didn't really happen. I sort of let it go. And it wasn't until many years later, at the point where I'm an adult, I think maybe not until my 30s, or even late 20s, my grandma and my mom had told me that that second floor apartment was haunted. That when my uncle moved in, initially he had seen a man standing in the living room, an apparition of a man, and my uncle would try to interact with it, and it would just sort of vaporize and fade out whenever he tried to focus on it.
Hi, Mike. I'm Craig.
Nice to meet you. Pleasure.
I can call you Mike, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, great. I've really enjoyed kind of getting to know your family history. Why don't you tell me a little bit about them?
Yeah, definitely. I have really mostly family on my mother's side. My dad came here from Italy as a small child, and he was adopted, and we don't have much family on his side. But on my mother's side, that's where my great-grandmother, who came from Poland, we all called her Babci. Her name was Rose, and she had a daughter named Eleanor, my grandmother, and Eleanor had a daughter, my mom, Connie, or Constance. Eleanor, my grandma, her daughter, married my grandpa, Thaddeus was his name, Thaddeus Alexander Zawacki. And I have the middle name Thaddeus for my grandfather, so my name's Michael Thaddeus D'Agostino.
I actually did a little bit of research into your family, pulling what records I could find.
Yeah.
And I'd like to share with you a little bit of what I found.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I also did some research on your great-grandmother's house, so we're going to get to that as well.
Yeah.
You have two major families, what I saw, the Zawacki.
Yeah.
Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Zawacki.
Zawacki.
Yeah.
And then the other is the Wyatrek?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm seeing here, I pulled a very early record from 1910 from the Wyatrek family. And you may need to have a magnifying glass or be able to see it. It's Joseph's dad, and I believe his name's Mike, or he was going by the name Mike.
Okay.
Similar to yours.
Yeah.
So it looks to me that he was working as a mechanic for a locomotive shop.
Interesting.
In Brooklyn.
Really beyond my great-grandmother, for me, the family history is a little blurry. And like I said, my My great-grandmother, Babci, she actually came here from Poland, so the family really starts to go back overseas.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, they definitely are Polish.
Yeah.
From what I'm seeing here. Well, I did find the Zawacki side of the family, side of the family, and they too are from Poland.
Yep.
Now, your grandfather served in World War II, correct?
Yep, that's correct, yep. Yeah, he was in the Navy and also part of the Marines, so at that time he had dual service. I guess in those days that was somewhat the norm, or at least some of the sailors did that, so he wore both uniforms and he was a medic during his time in the military.
I see here in my notes that he's a Navy veteran. He enlisted on March 24th, 1943.
Oh, wow.
He was discharged January 20th, 1946. And we're talking Teddy. This is the grandfather that you lived with.
He enlisted on my birthday. That's
oh,
funny.
did he?
Yeah, March 24th.
And then he went into it looks like in 1950 he was in the Marine Corps Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
So he looks like he re-enlisted it in some form or another afterwards.
Yep.
In fact, I have, I believe, a 1950, we have the 1950 U.S. Census, and it says he's in the armed forces.
Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, this is great stuff.
So I found a number of just different records that I can just hand it off to you. Here's his registration card for Joseph Bernard Wyatrack.
Wow, this is great. You were able to find all this. Very cool.
Oh yeah, no, I've got more. I've got a few more. I also found his obituary. He passed in 1988, correct?
88, yeah, that I would be 5. Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
That would be there. Eleanor was Teddy's wife.
Yes.
And so you had mentioned that they were living separately.
Yeah.
But you were going to visit Grandma at her place in Brooklyn.
Yep.
And then that's where you saw the chair lean back. And then your uncle also lived there.
Yep.
On the second floor.
Exactly. I had never been aware of any type of like paranormal activity until it happened to me right after he died.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the history of where you saw the chair tilt back and where your uncle saw the apparition of a man on the second floor that would, whenever he tried to interact with him, he would kind of fade out.
Yeah.
It does have a history.
Yeah, interesting.
It was very exciting, some of the stuff coming across. The history of the house is actually kind of exciting as far as researching old houses go.
Interesting.
Prior to the house being built, there was another building there. On November 26, 1892, this was the old building that was there, but it was a house that had been converted into the Columbia Club of South Brooklyn. It had a billiards room, a ladies' reception room, had a library, a restaurant, and committee rooms. And it was populated by what looked like a lot of Irish people. And they put on plays there as well. Well, here's where it gets a little strange. So online sources said that the house that your family lived in was actually built in 1899. However, according to newspaper archives, there was already a death that same year on the property. And I'm looking at February 12th, 1899. Says a man named John B. Van Nostrand, 69 years old, passes. His funeral is held at his, quote, his late residence, and then it gives the address in Brooklyn, on February 15th, and that
he was done in the house.
That he was a shoe cutter.
Okay, interesting.
So I do pass this along to you, so you have it yourself.
Thank you.
Now, that same year, right after this death announcement, they're advertising this building as new. they're saying large front and hall room, nicely furnished, ring bell twice, furnished rooms. So it was a rental. It was built to be a rental for multiple families. Does this even remotely sound familiar? Large front and hall room?
Kinda, yeah. They had the living room was in the front of the house, so it makes sense, yeah.
There were other deaths there. In fact, there were more than one inside the house. So fast forward to July 28th, 1917, I found that there was a Masonic funeral held inside the place. Chapter number 148, also referred to as Kismet Temple, but it was a funeral for a man named William H. Manning, 52 years old. And I love how macabre they were. They announced that he had entered the unseen temple.
Oh, wow.
But what really happened is he drowned.
In my grandmother's house.
He drowned in the waters of the Kil Van Kol while swimming.
What is that? You know?
It's a waterway swimming hole in one of the Great Lakes.
Oh, okay.
So he wasn't too terribly far away. So that was in 1917. Next funeral, 1922.
Wow.
June 9th, a woman named Emma M. Mueller, 47 years old, wife of George Wagner, dies. Her funeral is held at the house. March 16th, 1927, her husband George Wagner, who's still living in the house, dies.
Wow.
And his funeral is also held in the same house. Well, the house certainly does have an interesting history. And it's very rare to find a house that has just incident. The next incident that happened connected to the place was actually a local scandal in Brooklyn.
Oh, great.
There was a man named Frank Saal, S-A-A-L, who was also going under the pseudonym of George Saul, and he pleaded guilty on a charge of bigamy brought against him by one of his wives who was 18 years old, and he was sentenced. Then there was yet another death following the scandal, and it wasn't too long afterwards. June 3rd, 1932, a woman named Anna Fudge dies. Her funeral was also held in the same building. So, interestingly enough, and this is what I find interesting knowing about your family, the next family that moved in and was a family for decades, scandal-free, was actually a Polish family.
There was a certain love and a certain strength that they had that I think is different from the generations that we have today. Both my grandparents really looked out for us and were very protective, but they were really also extremely comforting to be around.
Michael's story is one of a guardian. The paranormal encounter with his grandfather he believes saved his life also set him on a new path, a path rife with supernatural discoveries, which he encountered on numerous occasions, making him a true believer who now views the world outside of the scope of strict empiricism.
I think that the emotions that we have here, particularly love, which are so binding, go beyond this life that we live.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with a supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
The paranormal had been a big part of my life. She accepted that, so I knew she really took the paranormal seriously. She made a comment to me that will stick with me forever, that she said, you will know it's me.
She might be gone, but she's definitely still here with us. She makes herself known. She definitely is around.
And he said, "Do you see that?" When they looked back, she was gone.
I did a little bit of research into your family. I have something I'd like to show you. My name is Craig Owens. I'm a paranormal researcher, historian, fact checker, and I am here to work with Brandon and Mustafa on a case project involving family spirits. The purpose of my role is to actually do genealogical research into the family lineage of some of the people that are claiming to be haunted by family members.
Every family has a ghost story. Some of them are terrifying, some of them are heartwarming. Through mine and Brandon's research and the decades of work that we have combined between us, we've found that oftentimes the source of many a haunting are connected to some type of very deep familial connection.
In this episode of Family Spirits, we speak with Andy about the tragic passing of his ex-wife, Kat, who he believes still visits both him and his son, Trey, to this very day. However, a series of paranormal encounters that occurred after her death seemed to be the source of comfort rather than terror for Andy's family.
My name's Andy Andrews. I've been a paranormal investigator for about 36 years, and I'm here to tell my story about my ex-wife, my youngest son, Trey's mom, and how she comes back to visit us from the other side. So Kat was raised kind of in a tough setting to make her tough. She was very tomboyish, had a brother. From what they would tell me, she would get out in the yard and play tackle football with the rest of the guys and stuff like that. She wasn't afraid of much at all that I remember.
She might be gone, but she's definitely still here with us. She makes herself known. She definitely is around. Definitely proves that the afterlife is a thing. I've heard many things and had many things happen to me that it changed my life for sure.
Unfortunately, her passing, she actually, it was suicide. Her and I had divorced. She had gotten remarried. Not knowing the whole situation, I do know that she was very unhappy. She was also on medication for depression. We noticed soon after she passed away, both of my sons, my oldest is not hers, but she was like a mother to him. He was the first one to see her, actually visualize her. He saw her at a playground. And then the child that we did have, my youngest son, he saw her a couple weeks later wearing the same outfit. Both of them did not talk to one another, so as they spoke to me about it, I knew that was pretty legit that they had seen her.
Just changed my whole life, basically, of seeing that day. It was a flowy white dress that I seen her in. It was one of the dresses that she always loved to wear. She would just, put it on around the house. If she wanted to go out and look nice one weekend, she would put it on and, we'd go out and have fun. But I've seen her twice, and that's what she's been wearing both times.
Andy Andrews is a very interesting case here. I mean, we're talking about a guy who is a paranormal investigator, someone that is dabbled in ghost hunting and looking for things that go bump in the night, in a sense, but hearing his story was pretty incredible, I'd say.
I had my doubts at first. You're always go in a little skeptical when you hear the stories, but what he laid out actually made quite a bit of sense.
It's up to them to tell us their experiences, right? It's not our place, I think, a lot of times to judge the experiences or look into it. We're not investigating it. But for this, if we want to look into why it's happening, to me what stood out the most with Andy was this prevalent love that he has still for his ex.
She was, I guess you could say, an old spirit, so she was very into making her own perfumes, coming up with oils and stuff that she would make on her own. So she had a perfume that was different, nothing market, anything like that you would find. Coming back the day of her funeral, we were coming back in the car and I could smell the perfume smell. It always happens usually when there's a decision that's pretty hard to be made that, you know, has something to do with Trey.
Second time I seen her, I was actually, this is a more recent, a couple months ago. I was at the house I'm living in now, and I walked downstairs, middle of the night, you know, go get something to drink, and I cut the corner in the kitchen, and Mom's standing in the kitchen. You know, she always loved to cook and bake, and she wanted to be a baker her whole life, you know, that was her dream.
Trey, like, you know, when we talked with him, he just seemed so sure of what happened. He talks about her glowingly. Obviously, I can't imagine what that's like, you know, what both him and Andy went through. He speaks with an assuredness of somebody who's talking about her as if she's still there.
With the paranormal connection, right, they had this secret word, this code word, that not only did Andy come across multiple times, but if you guys notice, he did not even give away what that code word was. So he's keeping that a real secret, right? And it's very interesting that he had it multiple times.
The paranormal had been a big part of my life. She accepted that. So I know she really took the paranormal seriously. She just didn't get to do it as much after Trey was born. But that bond that her and I had with that, I think she knew she could very well let me know she was there and I would believe it. And I think that it's become so common with us that sometimes it happens, you know, just like I said, when I had a friend in the car the other day and she just showed up. She made a comment to me that will stick with me forever, that she said, "You will know it's me."
You will know it's me.
And I said, same here. But I hadn't thought through it a whole lot on what I would do that would be a significant way of me telling somebody I was there. But she definitely, with what she does, has done that. Something just touched me. Seriously, I'm not lying. Look. My hair's like, that's really weird. Like right there. I don't think there's anything air blowing or nothing, is there?
When they were here telling their stories, Craig, and when Andy was sitting there talking to us, he very much believes that he was touched on the arm, right?
Oh, absolutely. And there were other noises that were going on during that interview as well. There was the knocking.
I'm still feeling it.
Oh, my mother was a beautiful woman. She, very sweet, always caring, would help anybody that she could. You know, last cent she had in her pocket, she'd give it to somebody if they really needed it that bad. She always put other people before herself and always cared about others a lot.
So my oldest son's not her paternal child, but his mom hasn't been around, so Kat kind of took on, you know, role of being a motherly figure for him. And when she passed, he took it pretty hard. About a week or two after her funeral and everything, he met with a friend of his, and they went to a playground, and she lived in a cul-de-sac at the time, and the incident happened in her house. And he was at this playground that was at the end of the road. Looked over, it's like 3, 4 in the morning, and she's standing there, he said, in a white dress, and she just looks at him and kind of gives him the look like he shouldn't be there doing what he's doing. And he said he kind of looked away and got the attention of his buddy that was with him, and he said, "Do you see that?" When they looked back, she was gone. She's always wearing this white dress. There's a picture that they used at the funeral, and that's the dress that both boys said that she was wearing.
If you kind of sum this specific case study into, you know, a sentence or into some kind of phrase, I guess it's not only does a mother's bond transcend death in a way, but also a relationship that Andy and Kat had and how they bonded over paranormal investigating. And that seems to be continuing even after her untimely passing.
And I think that night that I seen her at the Derby, she was giving us a good luck. We ended up winning that night. Won the big championship Derby, and think she was there to root us on that night, and she was there for our protection and make sure everything went the way we wanted it to go.
The laundry incident was probably the first time that something physically, I guess you could say, happened. Trey was going, we were gonna send him to Diesel Institute of America and was gonna take a bus instead of flying. So the schedule we had, he was running late, got in the car to leave, and he's carrying his suitcase and realizes that there's no clothes in it. So he went back in and he just had this puzzled look on his face, and he said, "Dad, these clothes were laying on top of the dryer folded." And I said, "You're kidding me." And he said, "No." And we both realized who it could be. Like, she was kind of looking out for us, because I believe if we'd have taken the time to fold laundry and stuff, he would have actually been late for the bus trip. And on the way there, we got the smell of their perfume, and we both talked to her like she was right there in the vehicle with us. And that seems to be when things happen, is when important things are about to go down.
With the folded clothes story, I mean, that's something we've all heard on previous cases, in cases that we work.
He's convinced that the place that he moved into is haunted. And the one thing that we've been seeing a lot in these cases is that people who have experienced phenomena or weird stuff, whether it's from a young age or it's recurring after the death of a loved one, it almost seems like they're attracted to places that they go and check out that is potentially haunted. So are these haunted places calling to people who've experienced stuff like that? Or maybe in the case of Andy, it's just, you know, he's a paranormal investigator and he wants to live in a haunted place. I would want to do that. It's pretty cool.
From what I understand, yes, the schoolhouse I'm in, it's in Waynesboro, PA, about 35 minutes away from Gettysburg, but it also sits pretty close to right in the area that the Monterey Pass battle, which was the day after Gettysburg, that passes pretty close to where I live at. I was told as I was moving in there by a neighbor that other people have talked about activity in there. And I think that with that energy there, she may be able to pull off that. And that's how the close happened. The manifestation of that happening could definitely be because that place has a lot of history.
It sounded like Kat wanted to live in a haunted place too, because she had gotten very interested in the paranormal and taking part in it. Whereas at first I believe she was a little standoffish, but she got more and more involved. Mm-hmm. And now it sounds like she's very involved.
She's a partner within the paranormal for Andy, even after death.
On some of my investigations, I've had her come through some of the communication boxes we've used, telling us that she's sorry, saying Trey's name. But her and I also had made up this word, I guess you could say, secret word between ourselves in conversations about, will we know each other on the other side? And we came up with a safe word, I guess you could call it. And that word's not used. It's not something that's used, daily. And it came across the spirit box. She said, "It's me. That's Kat. That's Trey's mom. That's Kat." The secret word that we had came across the box, and then that's when we heard, "I'm sorry."
Ordinarily, I do research on haunted properties, trying to determine fact from urban legend. What attracted me to this project, however, is that I get to actually research people, get to know their stories, and in the process, find information that maybe some of these people don't know about their own families, trying to carefully connect the dots in order to link a possible haunting to family lineage. I'm trying to expand my own knowledge, my own understanding of the paranormal. Family is very personal, and everyone has a ghost story. And what I'm seeing here is that most families have a ghost story. And I think it's very interesting to be able to pull those stories out from people and examine them.
Hi, Andy. I'm Craig.
How are you? Nice to meet you,
Nice to meet you. And who is this?
This is my son, Trey.
Trey?
Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you, too. How old are you, Trey?
19.
19. Thanks for coming here.
Appreciate it.
And thanks for sharing
Thanks for
your
having us.
stories. It sounds like you have a pretty fluid afterlife relationship with Kat. I find that fascinating on many different levels. I just have a quick question for you. Do you think that her passing and the fact that you both are experiencing her, do you think that has brought you both together, closer as father and son?
Yeah, I think so, absolutely, yeah.
And do you feel like it has given you some degree of closure?
For me, it has. I can speak for myself. I would say absolutely.
But you still look forward to that next meeting, that next visit. And her personality keeps manifesting and letting you know that she's there and that she still cares.
Exactly.
I did a little bit of research. It is a sensitive subject based on, you know, how she passed.
Exactly.
And there are privacy issues that I am mindful of. I would love to talk to you a little bit about her and her family and perhaps her childhood.
Okay.
If you can remember some of the things that she has said.
Oh, yeah.
Her official name is Catherine, correct? Catherine Suzanne is her middle name. And she was born in 1982, correct?
Yes.
You married her in 2003, correct?
Yes.
And so your marriage lasted until about 2008.
Somewhere around that. Yep, correct.
Around that time. And what do you know about her mother? Her name was Vina Joan Serber was her maiden name. And I'm seeing that she passed away in 2013.
Yes.
Which was 2 years before Kat's death. That's a very young age for the mother to pass away. She was only in her 50s.
Yeah.
Do you know what happened?
Cancer.
It was cancer?
It was cancer, yep. Pretty aggressive, like find out one day and a few months later, gone.
Now, how did Kat handle this? Was she close to her mother?
Yeah, actually her mom lived in the house with her and her new husband.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was living at home, and I think with situations from childhood and stuff, Mom was the safe one. She felt safe with her, so yeah, they were very tight.
Did you get to know her?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. She was definitely a big part of my life, for sure, growing up, you know, the time that I did have with her. She can be hard on you. You know, if you didn't listen, she definitely would put you in check. She was a sweet woman, though.
So she put you in check plenty of times?
All the time. Yeah, every time I'd mess up or, you know, do something I wasn't supposed to, she'd always be there to get my line.
So her dad's name was David Eugene. And what I could gather from him is he was kind of a wild card and musician, loved country, rock.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a little bit of bluegrass, being from Virginia. Dad, David, also died young.
Yep.
And how did he pass? Do you mind my asking?
In all honesty, nobody's quite sure. We never really figured out an actual way. They just kind of found him, and
Where'd they find him?
So, his colorful past. But they actually found him next to a creek bed, and they're not sure if he drowned and that was what finally did it, or if he actually had a heart attack or something like that.
And that happened about 3 years after Kat's death.
Yep.
How did he react to his daughter's death?
It broke him.
It broke him.
It hurt him bad.
You said that she was taking medication for depression.
That and anxiety. Yep.
That and anxiety? When did she start feeling that she needed help?
The depression and stuff from losing her mom and everything kind of hurt her.
That's when I saw it.
So you had mentioned that she had left a note right before her death.
Yeah. She told me I was a great dad, that she was sorry for what she had done, but I didn't understand. She hadn't shared a lot of stuff with me.
It sounds like if she could have found a way to still be in your life and look after you and protecting, if she could find a way, she would do it. And it It appears to me, at least, and it's worth considering, that she did find a way to do that.
Right.
And so she is doing the best that she can to let you know that she's there, she still loves you, and that she will be there as long as you need her. The love for her is definitely here. I definitely feel it in just our conversation.
Yep.
I can see it in your eyes. And I'm just very grateful that you shared that. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for letting us get the story out there.
Andy and Trey's uncanny experiences with Kat after her tragic passing almost seem as if she's attempting to co-parent from beyond the grave. Could it be that their undying love has forged a bond that transcends death, keeping their family intact in the wake of such a profound loss?
So I would tell people, the people out here that grieve, especially if it's something that happens, suddenly, talk about the afterlife.
I've seen many things that has been questionable and heard many things and had many things happen to me that definitely proves that the afterlife is a thing.
After nearly 2 decades of paranormal research, we are constantly faced with a supernatural theme, a reoccurring ghostly chorus that cannot be ignored, and it's that the heart of many hauntings are deeply rooted in familial connections. It's our pursuit of this persistent trend that compels us to delve into the phenomena of those visited by their departed loved ones.
For some reason, my mom, she would throw me in the basement.
Did you have another dream? You know what we've said about dreams, don't you, Harvey?
Literally open the door and throw me in and lock the door.
Harvey.
Because she couldn't drive whatever demon out of me she thought I was having. I'd always have this reoccurring dream, it seemed like.
On this episode of Family Spirits, we speak with Harvey, who as a child experienced paranormal phenomena that may be related to a history of premonitions.
My name's Harvey Althouse. I'm here at Waverly Hills Sanatorium, and I'm here to talk about the haunting of my mother. I grew up in a house in Marion, Iowa. It was built in the 1860s. It was an old farmhouse, and the neighborhood sort of built up around that over the years on the original land that the house sat on. It was very convenient for my family, especially for my mother, because our church was literally right across the street from us, so we never had an excuse for not attending church. My mom made sure we went every time that we needed to be there. She thought we needed to be there. Church was everything for my mother. She was in all the women's circles, just shy of being the actual, pastor of the church. She was a choir director, helping needy families, within our community. But not really helping our family. I'm third of 6 children at the time. And with my biological mother, she had 5 girls and just me, and I'm third oldest. And for some reason, the house that we lived in, it already had a nickname. The local kids call it the haunted house. It's really weird because although I had a lot of friends and I spent a lot of time at my friend's house, not very many of them would reciprocate to come to my house. It didn't take long for me to understand why they call it the haunted house, or people would try to avoid it. I had one friend that actually slept over with me one night, and that was the last time he ever did that. They were children. At least I perceived 3 of them, but nobody else in my family could sense them. As a young child, when you see and experience stuff like that, you want your parents to protect you from it. You want to do something. Every time that it happened, I'd have to go ask my mother, or not ask her, actually run to her saying, "Mom, please help me." And then all she would do is start quoting Bible verses from Revelations, from Deuteronomy and Leviticus.
Mom, please help me. You remember what we said about dreams, don't you, Harvey? We've talked about the dreams. You remember, Harvey? Do you remember what the Bible says? What Jesus says? Remember Deuteronomy 27:16. Cursed be anyone who dishonors his father or his mother. And all the people say amen. 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 Amen.
Calling me all kinds of names. For a good God-fearing Christian, she wasn't being very Christianly.
Amen. Amen.
My mom would hit me with the Bible, on occasion, to drive whatever demon she thought I was possessed with out. It was, scary. Hold on. That was weird. Somebody tapped something like, yeah, sorry. That happened for, several years from the time I can first remember maybe kindergarten up until the time we moved, after about a year or so after my mom died, in the house. Although I was the happiest person in the world when she passed away because my pain was gone, I didn't have to worry about that. It was maybe a couple years later, the weirdest thing started happening as I grew into an adult and had been away. We had moved away from that house. I would always have this reoccurring dream, it seemed like. And it was me appearing in front of the house that I grew up in, where my mom died in. And I remember turning and seeing the school, turning and seeing the church. And then I'm looking at the house, and I'm just as old as I was at that time. And all of a sudden, the front door flies open, and it's like I get sucked in. And then I hear, "Harvey!" My mom's voice.
Harvey! Harvey!
We'd start running around the interior from the dining room, through the kitchen, through the old bathroom, through the old parlor, which was their bedroom where she died in. Just running all over the place. And there's been times I'd wake up, from it. It was like a nightmare. And I'm drenched in sweat. My legs are like cramping because I felt like I was running, like in molasses. I mean, it physically affected me.
Marty, are you okay? Marty? Marty, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. And that went on for years. I mean, years. I'd see her, and she's wearing what we buried her in and how she looked. But then she would lunge at me, and her face would get all contorted, and she'd have blackness where her eyes were, and high cheek, but it was just really kind of, not skeleton looking, but pretty creepy. And then I'd wake up. There was a point when that was happening, I became kind of a nocturnal person because I didn't want to fall asleep. Early to mid 80s, I was in the military, and I noticed I stopped having those dreams. I found out by one of my family members that the city had condemned the house, and then they had to knock the house down. And I When I heard that, I'm going, no way. My mother, her favorite flower was a peony. And there was a peony bush on the property when we lived there. But what's ironic is that there was a peony bush still there on that property. House is gone, but the peony bush is there. My mother died the morning of Thanksgiving, 1972. She was 36 years old. Everybody were crying their eyes out, and I felt free. I think I actually went outside and I was jumping for joy. I didn't have to worry about this anymore. Even at her funeral, everybody said, "How are you, little Harvey?" I'm good. But they're thinking, "Oh, you're just in shock. Oh, you don't understand this." No, I know what death was back, I know what it means to be dead. But what I knew was that she wouldn't be around anymore. That's what I was cherishing. I felt freed. But little did I know, a couple years later, I was gonna have those dreams of her.
Harvey, I bet you're wondering why you are in this particular room at this particular time.
I absolutely am wondering why.
Well, I'm kind of excited to tell you this. We decided that being in Waverly Hills Sanitarium, one of the most haunted buildings in the United States, and because we're actually talking about spirits, ghosts, paranormal experiences, why not combine this discussion, carrying it further, with a paranormal investigation? So we are actually here in this room, and we're going to be talking, but this room is monitored.
Right.
And Brandon's just in the next room, and we're going to be looking for possible atmospheric changes, electromagnetic fields. We're basically going to be killing two birds with one stone.
Okay, so talking to Harvey, he had, in his story, what seemed like a lot of instances that involved children. So I'm going up here to the 5th floor, which is where most of the children were here at Waverly. And I'm going to see with him telling his stories if we may be able to connect anything with that.
We're in room 403, which is where Harvey said, right when he first entered the building here at Waverly, a number was coming to him. What I find really fascinating about that is he had no idea we were going to the 4th floor. He didn't know what the nature of the setup of this interview was. He didn't know he was coming to Waverly Hills. But he said that on his way being driven to here from a member of our production crew, that he had some kind of a premonition that it was something.
Keep an eye peeled. Something could happen at any time. Well, I find it extremely unusual to have a story that is frightening concerning a mother. Have you gotten over your mother?
There'd be a yes and a no. Some things I was able to put in a better light, so to speak, a better compartment, compartmentalize many things. But my mother has been kind of a constant guarded, kind of like in a cage, with barbed wire and heavy chains, and never, because that's the only way I can control, at this point, of what I had to deal with, as a younger person when she was alive.
And again, my goal with this is to, one, see if we can communicate with any children that could relate anything to Harvey's story. Good afternoon. My name's Kevin. Talking to Harvey earlier, when he first came onto the property, he mentioned something about room 403. And I believe that's where my friend Mustafa is currently.
EMF. We got EMF. Just got EMF on the APL right before we got motion. EMF again? Hello? Are you interacting with that device? Thank you. Thank you so much.
She always had more time for the church that she was right across the street from our house. She spent a lot of time and effort. She was in choir once in a while. She assisted the choir leader. You know, when my mother became pregnant out of wedlock, my grandmother did not want her to live. My oldest sister.
Okay.
And I didn't know until I was about 23, 24 that she was actually my half-sister. And when I found out that news, the person who told me, they were kind of like the stir of the pot, so to speak, in the family. And it was just like she was all ready to have me fall apart in front of her and, oh my God. I told her, I said, how does that make me feel? I have not known her other than my sister.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter.
Did you have any brothers or sisters you used to play with? I really want to know if you have any stories similar to what Harvey was talking about. I know that he said he had not a real good relationship with his mother. And that kind of made his childhood pretty hard.
Have you been seeing us work around here? We're talking with our friend Harvey, that was that tall gentleman. Thank you. He thinks that there was somebody poking him or touching. Were you the one poking him?
Going to bed at night, not being able to sleep because I'm scared to death of the reckoning that's coming.
What about you do you think triggered her animosity towards you to the point where she is appearing in your dreams?
I can't place a finger on it, but I do know she favored my sisters more. Maybe because I was the only boy. Maybe she had different expectations. I don't know.
The pressure is ridiculously changing.
Or do you know who was poking him before? Or touching him? Thank you. I gotta tell Brandon that's way too many aberrations in a row. Mentioning Harvey's name. Hey Brandon, I'm sorry to butt in like this, but I mentioned Harvey's name like 4 or 5 times in a row and I got EMF aberrations on the APL. Over.
Hey, so I'm getting massive pressure drops anytime Harvey talks about his mom. Are you still getting those hits over there?
EMF. I'm constantly getting EMF. That seems like the primary mode of communication over here, and there's no EMF aberrations in this room. It's very, very stable.
Copy.
And it sounds like you are still struggling with her as well.
I do, but not as much as I did as a younger person. I mean, like I said, I've compartmentalized that cage I told you about.
Mm-hmm.
I moved it a little bit closer to here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just really hard. You know, you have your parents,
Right.
and you want them to love you. You want them to, be your world.
Are you a visitor? EMF. EMF again. Do you know Harvey?
I did do a little bit of research on your family. It's pretty interesting. One of the things is that she did name you after your grandfather, Harvey.
Yep.
And Harvey's father was named Harvey.
Yep.
But if you go further up the line, it appears that Harvey is a last name on the Latham side of the family.
Wow. I did not know that.
It sounds like your mom with the Lutheran faith and naming you Harvey deliberately. I get the sense she feels like she was a prisoner of her own family upbringing too, in rigidity.
I would agree.
Are you related to Harvey? It's okay if you are, you can tell us. Thank you. All right, just to be sure, I'm gonna ask you one more time. Oh. Okay, great.
What I'm getting is that the Lathams, which is your mother's maiden name, early lineage to William Latham, who was one of the original people that came over in the Mayflower in 1620. Also a Mary Chilton, who was the first woman to step on colonial soil off of the Mayflower.
Wow.
But you also might have a little bit of, I don't know, bad juju in that side of the family too, because one of the Lathams was burned, or I believe she was executed for adultery during the colonial era. Another entry date, Mayflower passenger William Latham's wife Mary was hanged for adultery in the neighboring Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1644.
Like in a million years, I never thought I'd ever be here, but I was surprised, like completely surprised. Like probably one of the best birthday or Christmas gifts you're ever gonna get, right? That kind of surprise. But before we were even just driving up, because you can't see it, from the road really, I grabbed my crystal and I'm like, what's going on? It's something, sometimes they kind of know you're coming.
So it's nuts. It's only when I start to acknowledge it that the EMF aberrations start to occur.
It sounded like Mustafa was getting some interactions downstairs. Are you all down there with him?
This is one of the biggest reasons why we wanted to conduct this case study here in Waverly Hills. It's because there's no place arguably more haunted than Waverly, and it's especially probably the most haunted hospital in America or the world.
If there's anything to be learned from all of this, it's that families go through major upheavals, ups and downs, and the mere fact that your family is still fighting for what's good. Thanks so much for coming here.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Mom, please help me.
You remember what we said about dreams, don't you, Harvey?
The anomalies in Harvey's case are difficult to ignore. His visions en route to Waverly led us to an area where we documented significant EMF responses at mentions of his name. These corresponded with massive pressure changes we logged at the nerve center. Our research into his lineage also suggests his mother's wrath may be a form of inherited guilt, one that is tied to a brutal execution in colonial times, indicating that this haunting has a deeply rooted history.
Depending upon your circumstances, as far as a family haunting, it took me many, many decades to get to a point where I feel okay about it now. You don't have to be haunted anymore from it.